What's up, San Diego, and a happy Tuesday to all of you. Another victory day for the San Diego Padres after a big win last night, 7-2 over the Cleveland Guardians to improve to a perfect 5-0 and the best start in franchise history. That's pretty impressive, obviously. Padres have never started a season 5-0 before in their history. They tied it 2 days ago when they beat Atlanta to have a 4-win start to their season, 4-0 start to their season to tie their best mark since 1984. They now have the best mark that they have ever had to start a season at 5-0 after beating down the Cleveland Guardians last night, 7-2. And the thing is, it's not like they're getting lucky. It's not like the ball's bouncing their way every single time. It's happened a little bit, and that happens when you win. But they're collectively playing great baseball. They're playing great baseball to start the season. We talked about that on opening day. It's imperative that they get off to a good start for a couple of reasons. I mean, if you want to think about the division like Chris Ello does, then you know what? You got to be able to keep pace with a team that is also off to their best start in franchise history. They've tied a best mark since 1981. But in terms of just being in a good spot for the trade deadline and then in the second half of the season, it was imperative for these guys to get off to a good start, and they've gotten off to a great start. And that will continue again tonight as Michael King will toe the rubber for San Diego against the Cleveland Guardians to try to take Game 2 and win the series. Again, you're trying to win as many series, but it's just about winning series. I mean, sweeps are nice, and you want to keep this thing rolling as much as you can, but you couldn't have asked for a better start to the Padres season. And they're doing a lot of things right on the base pass. Defensively, they're making plays. They're making a lot of heads-up plays. And again, it looks like a team that has been playing with each other for a long period of time now, in which they have. That's one of the major factors I think people missed on in the offseason about this team. Not only the health, but that camaraderie and that consistency that we talked about yesterday on the show. The consistency with the coaching staff, with Victor Rodriguez and Ruben Niebla, and how they're empowered to do a lot of different things from Mike Shildt as the manager. These guys obviously know they like playing for Mike Shildt. He's done a good job pushing all the right buttons from a scheme perspective and a strategy perspective, but at the same time, the main goal for a manager in baseball is to manage personalities, and they've done a great job of that as well. So Padres off to a great start to the season. We're going to talk a lot of Padres baseball today on the Braden Surprenant show because they're obviously the big topic in town. 5-0 start. What a great way to start the baseball season. And we got a lot of other news and notes for you around Major League Baseball we're going to dive into later on in the day. You know, we'll talk about the Torpedo Bats again. There's a lot of insiders and scouts that don't think that's going to last very long. They think they're going to ban these things. It's not just the Yankees now. I mean, other teams are picking it up. A lot of players have used it before. Ellie De La Cruz used it last night. He was 4 for 5 and a bomb out of the Great American Bandbox, otherwise known as the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. We're going to talk about what some of the insiders are saying and some of the scouts are saying about the Torpedo Bats, whether or not they're last. You could buy one now on online. Marucci was selling them. I saw that on Twitter. You can go buy yourself one of those bats. I know Woods was talking about he needs one of those for his big doubleheader coming up in the adult baseball league against the best team in the league. I think if he gets on it quick, he could probably buy one from Marucci. Get yourself one of those bats, Woods. Well, I want to see somebody use it. Let's see what it's like. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Jackson Merrill had an interesting quote yesterday that I saw. He apologizes for his language, even though it wasn't that bad. But I think it really talks about the attitude of this team. We want to beat our opponent's ass. I love that. That's the mentality to have. He's got that killer mentality, which is great to see for the Padres. We'll talk about what that means for the Padres mantra in the 11 o'clock hour. Jurickson Profar officially gets suspended for PED use yesterday. That kind of came down at the end of our show, and it was, needed to get it confirmed before we really bought into it. And then Jeff Passan had it and was like, okay, here we go. which led to just Dodger fans being incensed on social media about the Padres for no reason. I mean, talk about the whole saying of winners are focused on winning and losers are focused on winners. Are you kidding me? But you got other things to worry about? I don't know how the Atlanta Braves jerks and Profar getting suspended for PED use has anything to do with the San Diego Padres. Dodgers want to make it about us. They always want to make it about us. Go worry on your own. Go worry on your own stuff. Go worry on your own time. Joke. Dodger fans are crazy. We'll talk about that later on. How concerned should some teams be to start the season? There should be some major concerns, not some major concerns for some of these baseball teams. Last night, Sacramento had their first MLB game. Danny Vietti was there from CBS Sports. He writes about it. And I think what he writes about in his experience talks about a lot of the dark signs. It shows the dark side of professional sports. We'll talk about that at noon. Garrett Crochet got a new deal. How does that impact Dylan Cease and Michael King? We'll get into that. And then 2025 World Series contender tiers. When will your team win? Padres aren't getting a lot of love on that. Padres aren't getting a lot of love on that at all. I think maybe it does have to do with the Dodgers being in the division or something, but they're not getting any love in that particular list. We'll break that down. NFL's got new overtime rules. If we have time, we'll discuss it. If not, we'll save it for the sports thread. That's going to come up at 1:45 today. We also debut our new game, the Midday Sports Standoff. We'll play that at 12:45. One of you guys try to take me down in some sports trivia, with a list of different items to pick off from, and you'll be able to potentially enter yourself in a chance to win a trip to Vegas, and we'll talk more about that later on. But I want to talk more about last night's game. Padres game last night. Padres win 7-2 over Cleveland. I thought Kyle Hart, and we'll talk more about him at 10:30. You know, he's considered one of the lost boys of 2020. And these are the 24 players that made major league debuts during the 2020 COVID season that didn't come back and play after 2020 or haven't been in the major leagues since. And been coined the phrase the lost boys. Well, Kyle Hart is one of those lost boys, and he went out there last night and really did a great job, I think, for the San Diego Padres as number 5 starter. I talked about it on my show a couple of weeks ago in spring training about how he's going to be the number 5 starter for the San Diego Padres. Now, he ends up winning the job even more so because of the fact that Yu Darvish went on the injured list. And somebody today commented on my Instagram reel about it, saying this aged well. It did. Kyle Hart looked great as a number 5 starter. He gave up a couple of solo shots, and the ball that he gave up, the one to Jose Ramirez, was middle in at like 90-something miles an hour. Jose Ramirez crushed that ball. Looks like his wrist is okay. And then he gave up one later on to Austin Hedges, and he threw it. He apparently didn't know the scouting report on Austin Hedges because he threw it right in the only place that Austin Hedges' bat path goes through in his career. A little bit low and a little bit inside, and Austin Hedges hit a home run. You know, that's going to be like the only time that he hits a home run. It's funny. I watched some of the highlights last night, and they in this morning, and they have these highlight packages that you can watch on YouTube. And so for the Hedges home run, they had it for the Guardians broadcast, and on the Guardians broadcast, they said how he was a local product out of San Diego. San Juan Capistrano, San Diego, same difference. So they made it a huge like homecoming thing for Austin Hedges last night on the Guardians broadcast. But that being said, again, 2 mistake pitches for Kyle Hart, and other than that, he looked pretty good. He looks like a guy that could be part of that rotation and really solidifies what has been a great start to the rotation for the Padres. 5 starts, 5 wins. Now, not all of the members of the rotation ended up getting wins in decisions. Wandy Peralta's got more wins than half of Major League Baseball. He's got more wins than the Atlanta Braves right now. He's also got more wins than the Minnesota Twins and a handful of other teams with his 2 wins that he has. And he shut the game down last night in a 7-2 victory. I thought Kyle Hart was great. I think Gavin Sheets is now put himself in a position where, and tonight's going to be interesting with the lineup, but I think Gavin Sheets has put himself in a position where He needs to play every day. At least right now while he's on a heater. This guy's been such a find for A.J. Preller. Such a find. We heard what Tony La Russa told Mike Schilt and two longtime Cardinal guys. La Russa had Sheets in Chicago. You can win with this guy. You bet your ass you can. You've already won with him 5 times. Gavin Sheets has been excellent to start the year. He's hitting .500 to start the season. He's not obviously going to keep those numbers up. But there's a couple of things that will show why he probably can have a great year in terms of his baseball savant numbers. But what a great find for A.J. Preller. Gavin Sheets, could he be the next big pickup for the Padres? Is he going to be that big offseason pickup where you look back and go like, we got this guy for X amount of dollars? I don't even know how much. They give him a minor league deal with an invite to spring training. I mean, that's even better than a $1 million deal that they handed out to Profar last year. Gavin Sheets has been great so far, but can he be the next big pickup? We'll discuss that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
3-2 again. Sheets lines it the other way. That is a fair ball down the left field line. Gonna bounce and roll into the corner. Cronenworth has scored. Bogarts has scored. Sheets into second with another 2-run double. His third hit of the night, and the Padre lead is 6-2.
Gavin Sheets, another great night last night for the San Diego Padres. He continues to have great performances for San Diego as the Padres are off to their best start in franchise history, a perfect 5-0 after knocking down the Guardians last night, 7-2. Gavin Sheets on the year in 14 at-bats is 7 for 14 with 3 runs scored, a home run. He's hitting .500 with a .533 OBP, .857 slug, and a .1390 OPS. Gavin Sheets is having himself a great start to a 2025 season, one in which he wanted to make this big league club, do whatever it takes to be in the big leagues, do whatever it takes to be on this Major League Baseball team. And he showed it in spring training, and now he's doing it in the regular season. You know, you always want to take spring training results, with the grain of salt, because you don't really know if it's going to transpire throughout the year. It really doesn't mean too much. It's the same thing with the results early on in the season. You could talk about slow starts and fast starts for teams that really has no impact on whether or not they make the playoffs. So even though the Padres are 5-0, that has it's not like they're guaranteed to make the playoffs yet. There's still a lot of games left to be played, not only in the month of April, but then for the rest of the season. So a great start to the year, and it's awesome. But again, be laser focused at the task at hand and taking it one game at a time. It's a long season, baseball fans. We got to be able to make it through. Yeah, you could say the same thing about a lot of teams last year. In fact, the last time the Braves started 0-4, they ended up winning the World Series in 2021. They're now 0-5, a little bit different. But I don't think anybody's really worried too much about Atlanta if they're a Braves fan. And I don't think everybody's ready to, there might be some people that are ready to have the World Series parade this year after the first 5 games. But just because some of the results that you get early on doesn't mean that's going to be a precursor for the rest of the season. Same thing as with Gavin Sheets. And I was that more for the spring training side into the regular season. But so far, he's carried it over, and he's done such a great job. And he has been such a big pickup for the San Diego Padres. I mean, at the beginning of spring training, didn't even know if he was going to make the team, to the middle of spring training where the guy's hitting home runs. Well, he's definitely going to make the team as a bench piece, to now being a part of the team, and maybe he should play every day. I mean, right now, the way he's been swinging the bat, I know you don't want to pitch him against lefties, and the Padres going against a lefty tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the lineup tonight just to play the hot hand. Guy's hitting .500. But as mentioned before in the contract, I mean, you sign him on a minor league deal and you invite him to camp, so he gets, at 20, he's going to get $1.6 million this year, which is still a steal. And he's under control through 2028 if he continues to play really good baseball, which would be awesome for the Padres long term. Awesome for the Padres long term. If you're able to continue to get production out of a guy like Gavin Sheets. You look at some of his numbers already on his Baseball Savant page. And the thing with Gavin Sheets is he's squaring the ball up and he's hammering the baseball. If you look at last year's numbers, I mean, he's in the blue in a lot of different stat categories. Right now, he has exponentially increased all of his numbers. His expected weighted on-base average is in a top percentile. Now, he doesn't qualify, so a lot of these are still kind of missing. But in terms of statistical categories that he does qualify are bat speed and squared up percentage. Last year, he was in the middle range for bat speed, averaging 72.7 miles an hour, and was in the low percentile for squared up percentage. This year, it's drastically changed. He's now at 82 on the bat speed and squared up percentage at 79, which means he is in the top echelon of Major League Baseball in those particular categories. He's in the 82nd percentile for bat speed and 79% in squared up percentage. He is up there in hard hit percentage. He is up there in average exit velocity. He is up there in expected batting average. He is up there in expected weighted on base average. The thing with expected results, a lot of those come with it's never as good as it is. It's never as bad as it is when you get results. It basically factors in some of the weird results that you get from Major League Baseball. Sometimes you get like a bloop single to drop in based on a shift or get the ball to bounce your way. Your average is going to be higher, but your expected batting average isn't. His expected batting average is still very, very high at 384, even though his average is at 500. So it's obviously going to come down just a little bit, but that's in the 90th percentile right now in Major League Baseball. His expected weighted on base average is 435. His expected slug is 588. Average exit velocity right now is averaging 96.8 miles an hour. That's in the 90th percentile in Major League Baseball. Again, it's a small sample size, and with only 15 plate appearances, he doesn't qualify. But the San Diego Padres could have struck gold with this Gavin Sheets pickup. It's a little bit younger than like the old, the players that they have brought in the past. Obviously, he's not like a Yuli Gurriel, a Robinson Cano, a Nelson Cruz, where they're 40, 41 years old, 38 years old, and they're trying to just continue to have success at the major leagues. The guy's 28. So you're getting him for 28, 29, 30, kind of his prime years. You're going to see the best that Gavin Sheets has to offer right now in the next 3 years. And you might be striking while it's hot. Kyle Glazier tweeted this out yesterday. Padres pro scouting director Pete DeYoung and pro scout Dominic Viola were two of the main drivers in evaluating Gavin Sheets and recommending he be brought into the organization. Tony La Russa told Mike Schilt, you can win with this guy. We played fill in the blank earlier in the season, trying to get some predictions on some of the players that might be able to fill in the blank for the Padres in terms of guys that have already left. Chris Elwell played it last night. Said Gavin Sheets could be this year's Jurickson Profar. Now, well, we'll talk more about Profar at 11:15. He's got some skewed numbers for last year compared to his previous years, and then he gets suspended for PED use. That'll be interesting to talk about at 11:15. So it might be too soon. But the reason why you can't compare him to Jurickson Profar is we don't know if Gavin Sheets is going to be an everyday starter. I don't know if he's at that level yet. We were talking off air, myself and Adam Klug, about, I said you have him in the lineup tonight. And Adam goes, you're going to have him bat against lefties? Well, right now, against the hot hand, he's the hot hand. I like playing the hot hand. I think you got to keep this guy in the lineup. Now, if he goes out there and goes 0-4 or something like that against the left-hander and is completely overmatched, you can work it back to the platoon because you don't want to push some of these guys too far. It's the big reason why I said last year, don't move Jackson Merrill up in the order yet. He's protected down at the bottom of the order. Let him cut his teeth at Major League Baseball. Let him get acquainted with what it's like to play in the big leagues. See what he's got. Don't force him higher in the order yet, because sometimes that is a big difference maker for a lot of players at different levels. You see it with college baseball and the way that they do their lineups. You see it in the minor leagues. You don't want to force these guys to the top of the order too fast. They did the same thing with Fernando before he caught on the scene. And now with Jackson Merrill and the success he's had, he's been able to move up a little bit more in the lineup for the San Diego Padres and in a position that he can definitely succeed in. I think the same thing could be with Gavin Sheets. You kind of have to, it's a little bit, you can't just throw him into the everyday lineup, but at the same time, you definitely want to see him perform and be in the lineup as many days as possible. So if he's that platoon guy off the bench, you're going to look really good against right-handed pitching. He's going to be a big pickup to be a bench piece later on in games when lefties start. But the way that he's playing so far, and the fact that his numbers are to a point where it's all about hard hit percentage and his average exit velo's up and his bat speed up and his squared up percentage is up. These are the stats that you look at from an analytics standpoint to determine whether or not they can keep this up and Gavin Sheets can keep this up, you can win with this guy. You bet your ass you can. You can win with Gavin Sheets. What a pickup for San Diego. What a pickup by A.J. Preller. It's still really early, but the numbers that he's putting up, I don't think he's going to be able to continue the 500, obviously, and the 1390 OPS, but it's looking like he's going to be a contributing factor to the San Diego Padres ball club, which is huge for the Padres. Give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we come back, we'll talk about one of the Lost Boys coming back and how he did last night and how he helps the Padres rotation moving forward. Who is the Lost Boy? We'll talk about him next on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
With a little battle here. Pitch number 6 coming, and a swing and a miss. So Kyle Hart strikes out the first guy that he faces in a Padre uniform, and it's one of the tougher guys to strike out in all of baseball, Stephen Kwan.
Kyle Hart with his first major league strikeout in a Padres uniform as he comes back from Korea, as he was one of the what we call the Lost Boys, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Really appreciate you guys joining us again today. Padres 5-0 to start the season. Best mark to start a year in franchise history, trying to make it 6 straight wins with a W today against the Cleveland Guardians, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But thanks again for all of you guys for joining us today. We're live on YouTube. For everybody in the YouTube chat, be sure to give us a like. It really helps us out. Drop a like on the video that we got going on our live feed. We really appreciate it. We got 16 likes. I just liked it, so now up to 17. It takes 2 seconds to do. Jump on, get the like. We really appreciate that. If you haven't done so already, you can follow us on social media at @B_SURP, at BSURP. Got a lot of content involving San Diego on there, including a lot of content from our shows. We try to post as much of that as possible, from our accounts to get videos up there on Instagram and Twitter and what have you. But you can follow me at B_SURP on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, all of those. And it's great for you guys to get some extra content in there. We really appreciate it. Again, you guys joining us each and every day in our new midday slot. It's great to be talking with all of you, talking Padres baseball. But again, I want to mention a little bit, and I want to talk about Kyle Hart and his trip back to the big leagues and the coin phrase of being a lost boy with the 2020 season. A very memorable win for him last night. Got his first major league win. But AJ Cassavell did a great article about Kyle Hart and his journey back to the big leagues on social media. As coined a phrase on Reddit, there's 24 players in Major League Baseball that made their debut during the 2020 season and hadn't come back. When Kyle Hart took them out on Monday, he might have become the last player to exit a very unique club. Prior to last night's start, there were 24 players who debuted in 2020 but didn't appear in another game after that season. That group has been dubbed the Lost Boys in a post on Reddit. It's now down to 23 because Kyle Hart is back in the big leagues. Hart, after the game, said, it's been 5 years. You hear guys, maybe it's been 2 years, 3 years since they've been in the big leagues, but at 5 years, it's almost like, okay, those guys are gone. I'll give myself credit. I've worked really hard and had some success, but there were so many good people around me. First stint in the big leagues for Kyle Hart, very short-lived, even by 2020 standards. He made 4 appearances for the Red Sox, allowing 19 earned runs in 11 innings. He later joked he was embarrassed to tell people that he once was a big leaguer because they likely check his stats right after talking to him. And he was embarrassed with the stats that he put up, even though just making it to the big leagues is such an amazing accomplishment. He then spent the next 3 years tolling around in the minor leagues before he made a decision to go to Korea and pitch last season, and that's where he revitalized his career. We've talked about this before. Made a couple of changes to his pitching arsenal. He added a sweeper, slightly lowered his arm angle slot. But he said the biggest improvement simply came because he was allowed to start on a consistent basis. Given that opportunity, Hart went 13-3 with a 2.69 ERA for the NC Dinos, and he took home the Choi Dong-won Award, the KBO's version of the Cy Young. He got the consistent playing time he needed. Sometimes it just comes to reps. You just got to go out there and get reps. It's the best way to make yourself better. I tell that to a lot of young broadcasters when I go talk to classes, when they invite me in, mostly from TCU, but even at San Diego State, and a lot of young people that want to come up and be like, hey, look, I want to do what you are doing. How do you do it? And I said, you got to go practice. You got to go practice. Whatever it is you want to do in life, whether it's a job that you've always wanted, whether it's a passion of yours that you want to make into your career in any form, you got to go out there and do it. You just got to do it. And sometimes you got to do it for free, and sometimes you got to do it on your own time, but you have to practice. You have to find opportunities and places that will give you those opportunities to practice. Because if you're not putting in the reps, you're not going to get any better at doing the job. I do play-by-play at USD. The best way that I was going to get practice is by just doing games. So when I first started doing games over there, I started doing every sport known to man because I needed on-air reps. The same thing here at the station. Any opportunity I had to potentially fill in, any opportunity to talk on the air was going to better me in the long run and make me a better broadcaster. The same thing goes for all of these players and all of these athletes. You want to get better at doing something, you got to go out there and do it. And so a way for Kyle Hart to be able to be the guy that he was last night and an opportunity to play in the big leagues for the first time in 5 years and to live that dream was he had to take a risk and go to Korea because it was a guaranteed opportunity to get consistent starts. That's half the battle. It's just you got to find reps. And it might be a little bit more cush to be here in the United States and maybe be in the minor leagues and get some reps, but not the consistent ones, and you feel comfortable. But sometimes you got to take that leap to go get the reps that you need to make yourself better. And again, that works for all walks of life, whatever you want to be better at. Kyle Hart went out there and did it. I listen to Gwen and Chris. I mean, Chris wants this guy to do great. So do I. I mean, I'm rooting for this guy. I'm rooting for this guy. He's not the only one to do it that the Padres found. Robert Suarez did it. He went to Japan. Nick Martinez did it. He went to Japan. These guys bet on themselves to go out to go out there and get the reps they need, sacrifice with his family, moving to a foreign country, going to a foreign land, to go out there and get an opportunity to get starts, to get reps, so he could get his way back to the big leagues. There's a lot of people that will give up before they even think about doing something like that. I mean, think about the heart that this guy has to go out there and do that, no pun intended. And he went out there and he did a great job. He pitched a great game yesterday. He gave 2 mistake balls, one to a Hall of Famer, maybe a future Hall of Famer, and Jose Ramirez, a multi-all-star. Guy's a stud. And the other one they gave up to, he just pitched he put it right in the bat swing, in the swing path of where Austin Hedges usually throws. 2 mistake pitches, and outside of that, the guy was great. But the journey he had back and being a lost boy no more, what a great story. His parents and family got to be there last night. You know, they got to see him pitch for the first time live in a major league game. Think about that. He wasn't making his major league debut, but that was the first time that he was able to pitch in a major league game in which people were allowed to attend the game. This is a different experience than it was the last time he was in the major leagues. The last time he was in the major leagues, he's playing in front of an empty stadium with piped-in crowd noise. Last night, he played in front of 43,404 at Petco Park, all waving their bobbleheads around on Jackson Merrill bobblehead night. For an organization that has one of the best fan bases in all of Major League Baseball, and for an organization that is competing for a World Series as he tries to pick up the 5th win and the best start in franchise history. What a stark contrast to the last time he took a big league mound, which was 2 innings of relief on September 1st, 2020, in an empty Fenway Park. Hart went on to say after the game, this would probably be anything better than anything I imagined, especially at Petco. And little inside juice there for Kyle Hart. And against Cleveland. I'm not the biggest Cleveland sports fan. Anytime he beat Cleveland is good. Guy comes from Cincinnati. His family flew from Cincinnati early Friday morning to San Diego. His dad, Roger, said, we've been to literally hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of his games. We've seen him get a lot of wins, but it's obviously a feather in your cap when you get your first MLB win. It's so awesome to be here for that. What a great moment yesterday for him. What a great moment for his family. You got to be able to. I don't know how you can't root for this guy. I said at the beginning of spring training, I think this guy's got the stuff to really help this Padres starting rotation. I think it's going to be a big sign for these guys. I like his energy. I like his attitude. I like the way he says, we with the organization, knowing the series history, knowing the history of the San Diego Padres. This guy is the number 5 starter with an incredible story that was outlined by AJ Cassaville, and what a great piece that was. And if you haven't read the whole thing, go to Padres.com and check it out. Kyle Hart, number 5 starter for the Padres, check. If he could be there the entire year, great. If not, you're going to use him in different avenues. But last night was great. That was a huge game for him. Guy bet on himself, went to Korea, and came back and had a great outing for the San Diego Padres in a 7-2 victory. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Couldn't be more fired up about Kyle Hart. Want to get to your phone calls today. We got some people waiting on hold. Owen and El Cajon, you're batting leadoff today on the Braden Surprenant Show. Owen, what's going on, man?
Morning, Braden. I really like that last segment on Kyle Hart's really interesting stuff there. Great story for that guy, honestly. One play I really wanted to draw attention to is Manny Machado's play in the 5th inning. I can't say enough about his baseball IQ. It really brought me back to, I think, Game 4 in the NLDS last year when he had that base running trick that he played on the Dodgers, and it really started to run. He's just such a headsy baseball player, and I really appreciate the skills that he brings. I don't see anybody else in the major league doing those kinds of heads-up plays and knowing the rules.
Oh, and you bring up a good point, dude, and I appreciate the phone call, man. But, in this day and age, especially with younger athletes, and I deal with this a lot from a coaching perspective, and you're starting to get a lot of these athletes, in professional sports now. They don't have the sport IQ that a lot of other people have. I mean, just this younger generation of players, they don't really understand the sport they play. They just play it. They don't watch it. They just play it. And so you start to talk about some of these guys and the heads up plays. I mean, it's almost a lost art with some of the plays that these guys make. And Machado he's savvy, man. He knows the rules. He knows how to take advantage of certain opportunities. He's very high IQ for baseball. Last night's play, very, very, very heads up play. Very heads up play to try to draw contact there and try to force a throw to second, almost like a attempted 3-pointer in basketball. You bump into the defender to try to get the 3 fouls on a tough shot opportunity. It was a heads up play for him, and they've made heads up plays all season long, and it starts with Manny. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get to Mike in Temecula. You're on the Braden Surprenant Show. Mike, what's going on? How's your Tuesday going?
Dude, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
I've been a big fan of you for a while since you've been working with a coach. I'm glad you finally, Adam put you in a slot. So I wasn't quite sure because this is April Fool's and I haven't listened to this time slot. It just wasn't my cup of tea. So I turned you on. I'm like, holy crap, is this going to be a April Fool's joke or is this legit?
No, I'm on all the time now, and I appreciate you coming back. So what do you got for me today?
Hey, I like your take on everything, and Padre fans. I mean, it's something silly, but we've already created history with a 5-0 start, and I like what you said about our younger pitchers, and I think the whole key to everything is being healthy. And I think if we're healthy, Dodgers are just a juggernaut, but my goal is to make it to the playoffs and go for the Dodgers again back, way down the line. But if I believe if we're healthy, we're gonna be up there easily.
Absolutely, Mike, and I appreciate the phone call and the kind words. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Yeah, the health thing is definitely going to be the key, and Mike had it right. Make the playoffs and then get him in the playoffs. That's what the goal needs to be. Losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. We're going to keep saying that all season long. I don't know if you noticed yesterday with the Jerickson Profar PED thing that went out, all of a sudden all the Dodger fans started focusing on the Padres for no reason. Remember that phrase every time you get some flack from Dodger fans. We're not worried about them. We don't care. Okay, you guys go do your thing. But the more you talk about us, the more, hey, you know what? Losers focus on winners. Winners focus on winning. Thanks for focusing on us, Dodger fans. We appreciate it. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. So you got to Tim and Miramar. Tim, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, Braden. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Well, we said they needed to get off to a good start, right? I think 5-0 qualifies.
I think so. Getting off to the best start in franchise history probably checks that box for the time being, Tim.
And we talked about Manny, and Machado seems to sense the urgency as well. And he's swinging. So let's hope they all keep it going. Hey, I understand where you're coming from, but I think, in my opinion, tonight they're going to start Gurriel, Lockridge, and Iglesias at second base.
I think that's a very fair call based on the track record of the lefty-righty platoons that we got going on.
Yeah, I think Schultz has shown that he wants everybody involved. Iglesias, I think, has only had one at bat, and Gurriel's hot, man. He's coming off a game-winning hit, so just being a little facetious there, but I think that's the way to go. I understand. Sheets has been hot, but they got to go. I think they got to go that way, and I think Iglesias should definitely get a start tonight. What do you think?
I think so too, Tim, and I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much for dialing up. Yeah, Mike Schultz uses his guys. I think it's another reason why he's a manager that a lot of the players love. I mean, he's going to use all of his players in the best ways that they have, and there's certain players that possess certain skills that you can help you win. And you're going to start seeing that, I think, a little bit more. So from the standpoint of, even though I'd like to see Sheets continue to play because he is the hot hand, I also agree with the fact that you want to keep your guys in game shape as much as possible and give guys opportunities. I would not be surprised if Iglesias starts tonight for the Padres, or Lockridge, or Uriel, or Yuli Gurriel, or all three of them in the lineup. I could totally see that happening, especially against the left-hander and Logan Allen. Not that Logan Allen, a different Logan Allen. Not the one the Padres traded to Cleveland, a different Logan Allen. This one's left-handed. That will be tonight's pitching matchup. Prolific the Great. Let's talk about Xander so we shut up all the haters and doubters. We talked about Xander a lot yesterday. Had a decent game again last night. I think the way that he's hitting the ball right now is exceptional in terms of his numbers. In terms of his overall analytics on Baseball Savant, his numbers are up when it comes to bat speed, when it comes to exit velocity, which is all good signs for Xander Bogaerts moving forward. Again, what you're worried about is you're worried about those numbers particularly going down because that's showing aging, showing his lack of ability to hit the ball hard and continue to keep up with Major League Baseball. But with those numbers back up, I think you can really point to the fact that maybe it's over with the injury that he's had and the injuries he's had in the past. So through 5 games, Xander in 19 plate appearances is 4 for 14 with a 286 average and a 903 OPS. I mean, he's one of the top 3 players on the Padres that qualify with OPS. So he's contributing too. I thought Jason Hayward hit the ball well last night. I mean, Hayward hit a ball last night that would have been a home run in 18 ballparks. And his exit velo was hot on a couple of hits last night. He started to contribute a little bit. You want to see a little bit more out of Hayward, but he hit the ball well last night. He thought he got that one too, that double. He did a little bat flip, little flip of the wrist right there. He still was able to make it to second as he hit the ball 383. Needed a couple more feet on that one as it hit off the top of the wall. But I think if it wasn't for the rain last night and the heavy air, Gavin Sheets probably has a grand slam. And Jason Hayward probably has a home run. Jason Hayward probably has 2 home runs. Even the sac fly went to the track and was hit well. Be nice to see him get going a little bit too. I don't want to get overzealous and greedy here, but it'd be nice to get those players hot. How's the launch angle for X? I don't care about launch angle for him. He hits line drives. He's a line drive hitter. He's a gap-to-gap line drive hitter. He always has been. His home runs came because he was hitting in a hitters-friendly ballpark at Fenway, Yankee Stadium, and in Baltimore. You hit the ball hard enough on a line drive, it's going to leave the yard. Bogaerts is not a home run hitter. He's a line drive hitter. That's what he's always been. And so I think that also sets this interesting precedent of unrealistic expectations for a guy on a contract of we want him to hit like 1,000 home runs when he's not a home run hitter. He's a line drive hitter. Gap to gap. That's what he does. And there's a lot of Padres that have gap to gap hitters. We talked about it last year. Not a lot of slug. They've added some slug. Gavin Sheets is some slug. But when it comes to the overall home run power, I mean, Manny's a line drive hitter. He's not a stereotypical power guy. When he hits home runs, it's because he gets a good piece on it and it goes. Same with Fernando. And Fernando's only 26. Just wait till he's 28, how hard he's going to hit the ball. We'll talk more about Fernando when we come back. There's a couple of statistical categories that he is doing a lot better than this year that might lead to his MVP season. And what did Jackson Merrill say last night that I think is a great phrase for the year? We'll talk about that to start the 11 o'clock hour and get to your phone calls. Parker will get to you as we head to break on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Antonio Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, a 5-0 Tuesday for the San Diego Padres. Welcome back to the Braden Surprenant Show. Live and local each and every day from 10 to 2. Really appreciate you guys making our day a part of yours. We will continue this on through 2 o'clock to Gwen and Chris. We'll take over and get you a nice little preview of the Padre game tonight as they take on the Cleveland Guardians for Game 2 of a 3-game set here in San Diego. After that, Padres will have their first road trip of the year after Wednesday's game. They'll be off on Thursday, and then we'll go to Chicago and take on the Cubs. Earlier start on Friday. So how the rest of the week lays out, we got Padres and Guardians tonight at 6:40. We have Padres and Guardians tomorrow at 1:10, which means you got Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame shows at 5:40 tonight and at 12:10 tomorrow. So we have a shortened show on Wednesday. And then Thursday, no Padres baseball. Whatever are we going to do? And if you don't like Padre off days, I got news for you. You're not going to like a lot of Thursdays because with the new CBA and extra days off for a lot of these players, Thursday is very much off day for the Padres all the time. Now, it might be off day for a lot of other teams too in baseball, but I'm looking at a distance to the calendar in the Padres schedule that I posted in the studio. I have it there for reference for everybody to use. Thursday off every week of April. No game on Thursdays. You get to May, there's only one Thursday in May the Padres play a game. You get to June, they play twice on a Thursday. You get to July, they play twice on a Thursday. You get to August, they play once. And you get to September, they play twice. Other than that, they're not playing on Thursdays. So, I suggest Thursdays for you guys. I got an alternative for you for Thursdays. We got the Padres Roundtable back. I think you should dive into the Padres Roundtable on Thursdays with us because it airs a couple of times. So if you miss it, you can replay it. But if you really want that Padres content, it's an hour of commercial-free discussion with your favorite on-air hosts. You could play that during a Padre kind of stuff. Just pretend it's the Padre game. That might fill it a little bit. Thursday. Think about it.
Or could I propose perhaps doing like a virtual video game Facebook? I'm
kidding. I don't know about that. That's been done before. It's been done before. I think it's okay. So this Thursday is our first roundtable. I will be there. Ben and Woods will be there. Gwen and Chris, I think, will be there. Tony might be traveling with the Padres, but we'll have our on-air personalities ready to go, ready to talk Padres baseball and recapping the first homestand of the season coming up on Thursday, which is sponsored by, again, Roundtable Pizza, which is great. I get to have free Roundtable Pizza come in on Thursday. That's a great pie right there, Roundtable. They got some good stuff. The best part about that is Rick, our sales guy, who has that account, has a great relationship with Roundtable. He's always fired up to show the new flavors and everything like that, which we do a great job of being able to taste. But there's a lot of good pizzas from Roundtable I get to enjoy at 10 in the morning. 10 in the morning pizza. It's great. It's like I'm in college again. Early morning pizza, except this time it's hot. It's not cold pizza at 10 in the morning, which is great. And we appreciate Roundtable being a part of that with us. But we're going to have our first Roundtable coming up on Thursday at 10 in the morning. So that will start the beginning part of our show on Thursday. And then Friday, you got Padres baseball starting at 11:20, which means you're going to have Ben and Woods leading into the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt on Friday. I won't be here. We'll be dialed into Padres baseball on Friday. So a little bit earlier. So you don't have the Padres on Thursday, but you get early Padres baseball on Friday. So it's kind of a win-win. It's kind of a win-win. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I don't want to get back to your phone calls. And then we're going to get to what Jackson Merrill said that I love. Let's get out to Parker and Encinitas. Parker, what's going on, man? How's your Tuesday going? Parker, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
There he is. What's going on, dude?
Okay, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's a great Tuesday. It's a great Tuesday, Parker, when your ball club's 5-0, huh?
100% agree. And so what's really surprised me about this year's ball club with the Padres is that, so for the past 10 seasons or so, the Padres have fallen into like some sort of, groove where the first half they do very well, second half not so much, or vice versa. First half not very good, second half not so well. So this year, what I'm seeing is that with this club is that in the first half, yes, we're 5-0, but what separates this club from the previous years is that they're hitting the small ball correctly. They're making hits and getting runs when it counts and we have runners in scoring position. And it's not guys trying to hit homers. It's not guys trying to just hit double after double after double. It's guys who are hitting singles, guys who are moving the runner over. It's just technical, proper baseball, which is what a lot of fans and myself love to see. So as long as this team continues to do that, we're going to be right behind the Dodgers, maybe even beat the Dodgers at the end of the year. So I love where the direction of the team is going and how they're playing.
Absolutely, Parker. And you bring up, I mean, it's funny, right before you have that phone call, our rejoin song that came back is a relatively new song. It's called The Little Things, and that's exactly what you need to talk about. It's The Little Things by Charles Wesley Godwin. That was the rejoiner song for us. And, when it comes to the little things of baseball, the Padres are doing that right now.
They're doing it. I mean, they're doing a really good job. And as you mentioned, moving guys over, they're doing a good job of, taking care of, not swinging out of their shoes, hitting the sacrifice flies, the hit and runs, the stealing of the bases. I mean, it looks like big West College baseball out here on the West Coast. I mean, that's what you get. You get a lot of small ball. So the Padres are able to win in different ways. And that's when you have a really good ball club. You can use the long ball to win games. They can use small ball to win games. It's sack flies. It's getting guys on, getting them over, getting them in. It's base running. It's defense. And when you have different ways that you can find ways to win, you're a really good baseball. You're going to be a really good baseball team. Let's talk about the little things with Fernando. I think it's a perfect segue into what Fernando Tatis has been able to do as a San Diego Padre this season compared to what he's done in previous years. And so when you look at his baseball savant page, the thing that really hurts him a lot last year and during his career has been high chase percentage, whiff rate, K rate, walk rate, all in the lower half of Major League Baseball. His chase rate was about 50. His whiff rate was in the 30 percentile, which is not good. His K rate in the 46 percentile, not good. And his walk rate in the 40 percentile, also not good. That was last year. In 2025, albeit a very small sample size, and again, he has not qualified yet for these meters on the baseball savant page. We talk about bat speed all the time. That's always going to be high with Fernando, and his barrel percentage. But his chase rate's a lot better. That is above 50% now in the 50 percentile. The whiff percentage is in the 60th percentile. Probably more, actually more. Chase and whiff percentage are in the 65 and higher percentile. And the highest and the best one right now is his K percentage. He's got almost like Luis Arraez level K percentage right now at the dish. I mean, he's in the 90th percentile in K rate, which means he's not striking out a lot. The walks are improved. It's up to 50 now. It's improved by 10 spots. But you start looking through his baseball savant page. He has never in any year had those particular categories below 50%, with the exception of 2021, where he had a high walk rate that year. Other than that, it's all been 50% percentile or lower. This year, everything's a lot higher. So when you got a guy like Fernando that can hit the ball extremely well, and he has the power, and he has, that level of MVP type stats or whatever, you can go out there when you have all those particular numbers and everything like that, when you're not swinging at bad pitches, you could go out there and have an MVP level season. I mean, a big advantage to pitchers is having players swing at bad pitches out of the zone or have them chase bad pitches, because it's just helping you out. You can't square up the ball as much. You can't do a lot of damage with bad pitching. You got to be able to swing at strikes and then tag the mistakes. And right now, Fernando's doing that, and he's not chasing a lot. And we'll see if he's able to get a little bit more walks going for him. I think maybe the mentality has changed a little bit with just the way he's been able to walk, just with his position and being in the leadoff spot. You know, they asked him earlier this week or last week when he was in the leadoff spot, does it change your approach at all? He's like, no, not really. I just got to get out there and set the tone, which really means he knows he has to get on base and he has to create stuff on the bases early. And I think it's creating him to be a little bit more patient as the leadoff man, which I think in tune is going to make him a way better hitter in 2025 than he's been in years past. And we already know how great of a hitter he already is. So it's interesting to see some of the metrics that he has put up so far. Again, he's only had 22 plate appearances. It's only been 5 games. But if Fernando can keep up this look at the zone and his eye for the zone and not chasing out of the zone, I think it's going to do wonders for Fernando. I think the same thing can be applied to Jackson Merrill. That's a guy who likes to swing at a lot of pitches. But it's not just that for Jackson. There's something else that I want to mention about Jackson Merrill. We're going to do it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
11:17 on a Tuesday morning, a victory Tuesday after the Padres jump out to their best start in franchise history after beating the Guardians last night 7-2. 5-0 Padres. Be excited about it. There's a lot of things to be excited about with this Padres team and a lot of different things that we could talk about when it comes to the San Diego Padres, obviously. We talked about Fernando in the last segment and some of the statistics that have done well for him so far early on in a small sample size. But on top of that, there's some other things that I think really play off of spring training in terms of what exactly the Padres were saying at spring training and some of the things that I thought were great for the Padres in terms of their messaging. I think a lot of that comes from the young players and also the veterans alike. And with some of the veterans, you know, they're more calm, cool, and collected, as they should be. But you want to have a nice mix of the veterans that know how to handle situations when the proverbial S hits the fan, and also want to be mixed in with some young, fiery guys like a Jackson Merrill. Last night, after the Padres won their fifth game, after the Padres won their fifth game last night, a lot of the members of the media went down to the clubhouse, as they usually do. And Jackson Merrill had some interesting comments to say of just about the attitude and what they want to do as a ball club.
You know, we want to beat the other team's ass, you know? Sorry my language, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to kick somebody's ass, not win. You know, we want to come out there and dominate somebody, so then the next day you go play the same team, they come in a little softer, not ready to play.
I love that quote from Jackson Merrill. We want to come in and beat somebody's ass, such as winning. I know that's genuine from him. He says a lot of great things. He's definitely mature above his years. I think it's extra feisty. He's saying, like, we want to go out there, we want to dominate. We want to kick the other team's ass. Part of my language, but that's what we want to do. I love that. I want to do that too. I mean, that's like, it's different in different sports, right? There's a different time and place in different sports, and there's different really philosophies on that. I mean, that's kind of a football mentality. We want to go and impose our will and beat up on the other team, right? I mean, it's very much a football quote from Jackson Merrill. You don't get that a lot in baseball. Baseball, you want to kick ass, but you want to win, and it's a long season, right? So it's interesting. It's a lot. It's a little bit of a difference. It's more of a laid back sport compared to, you know, things like football. I mean, it's the same thing like Mikey Varis was talking about with San Diego FC up at Utah a couple of weeks ago. They want to go get the win. I like that energy. I love that energy. That matches what Jackson Merrill is saying last night. It goes on to another quote from Jackson Merrill from earlier in the season, after like the first day, when the Padres fell behind. We didn't feel any of the pressure. We don't feel pressure. We exude pressure on the other team. The mental makeup for Jackson Merrill has been a huge blessing for the San Diego Padres team.
Yeah, we apply pressure, we don't feel it.
We apply pressure, we don't feel it. We apply pressure, we don't feel it. We want to kick somebody's ass. I love this. This is like some of the youth that you get in a clubhouse that really gets the veterans excited. You ever heard like the term, like, they keep me youthful? I mean, that's what Jackson Merrill does. But he does it from like a hard edge perspective. Like Fernando, when he first came onto the scene, he kept everybody loose and having fun, and everything's about the game. We're having fun playing baseball, which is also good. But you got like the fun of Fernando mixed with the I want to beat everybody's ass in Jackson Merrill, mixed with some veteran guys that have been there and done that before. I think it's a good mix. You got to stay loose like Fernando, but you want to be hard-edged like Jackson. That's just your center and right fielder together in the outfield.
Yeah, we apply pressure, we don't feel it.
We apply pressure, we don't feel it. I love that. I love that. You get the fun of Fernando having a good time. He slides in last night, makes a diving catch, just crosses his arms, hits a pose, does a little shimmy in the box that people love. I mean, he's having a great time when he plays baseball. Not to say Jackson Merrill's not. Jackson Merrill's having a great time too.
You know, we want to come, we want to beat the other team's ass, you know? Sorry my language, but that's what we're here to do.
We're here to beat somebody's ass. I'm ready to run through a wall for Jackson Merrill. I love that attitude. I think that goes inside with the attitude that we have here on the show now about, you know, the quote of losers are focused on winning, are winners, and winners are focused on winning. Jackson Merrill fits that vibe right now with the we want to go out there and beat somebody's ass. We don't feel pressure. You have that attitude from Jackson mixed with the fun of Fernando, you're going to have a good, solid crew. And then you have the veteran guys. It's kind of like a coaching staff. Like you want to have, when things go wrong, like you can't have everybody getting all emotional and freaking out. And I'm not saying that's the case with Fernando or Jackson, but that energy that they brings a valuable asset to the team. The other value that the team brings are guys like Manny and Xander and Joe Musgrove and some of these calmer players. And we've seen Manny blow up, but he's usually kind of just chill. Those are the players that have to keep a level head when S does hit the fan and things don't go your way. Because what you can't have in times of stress, and there's going to be more situations in which the Padres do in fact feel pressure. There's going to be times where they do feel it. Everybody's human, right? And so there will be some times you feel some pressure, and that is when the veterans take over and stay calm as that leader in the clubhouse. The guys leading the charge, Jackson Merrill with his hard edge attitude of wanting to win and having the desire to win at all by all means necessary.
You know, we want to come, we want to beat the other team's ass.
Mixed with the fun and the energy of Fernando Tatis Jr. And then when you have those guys leading the charge for the rest of the players and things do go wrong, then you have that stoicness of Machado and Xander and some of the experienced players on the team. Even some of the guys that might be coming off the bench. Those older veterans like a Jason Hayward. You go to the pitching staff that have to be calm, cool under pressure. I think it's a good mix. I think the energy is great right now. Now everything's awesome when you're winning. So we'll see. I mean, there's going to be some stretches this year where the Padres lose 5 games in a row. I mean, it is what it is. That's going to happen throughout the year. That could be soon. That could be later. It's going to happen during the year where they lose a couple of games in a row. They're not going to continue this streak forever. Although 162-0 is still in play. Still in play. But that being said, the mix from the mental human side in the clubhouse right now, I like the vibes coming out of that clubhouse. You can't just have everybody, it just can't be all fun all the time. It can't be all serious all the time. I think it's a good mix. And what they have with their young players is a great mix. And then you have the veteran coolness, if you will. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Jerks and Profar got dinged for PED use. Why are Dodger fans chirping at Padres fans for this? We'll explain when we come back. Plus, get back to your phone calls on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant Show live and local each and every day from 10 to 2. It's 11:32 on a Victory Tuesday. Padres start their season 5-0. I'm going to keep saying it because it's a great start to the season for all you Padres fans out there. Another game tonight, first pitch at 6:40. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at 5:40 with Sam Levitt. If you're heading down to the ballpark today, again, I always recommend get down there as early as you possibly can. Head up to the loft, go say hi to Sam, and enjoy a nice game at the yard. Michael King is back for his second outing of 2025. Needs to really improve from his first outing. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, it's the opening day, a little bit different, and I know he's going to be able to bounce back, but Padres could use a bounce back from him, and he'll be going against Logan Allen of the Cleveland Guardians, not the one that the Padres traded to Cleveland a couple of years ago, but a different one. This one's a left-hander. So I don't know what Cleveland has with Logan Allen's, but apparently they really like him as pitchers. And so one of them is starting tonight for Cleveland. So I would expect a lineup with a lot of right-handers in it. Maybe a Brandon Lockridge, Yuli Gurriel. Do we see Jose Iglesias tonight? That's another question. Iglesias hasn't had too much opportunity. He got in because Manny got hurt in one of those games. I think it was Saturday's game. He had a calf injury. So aside from that, we haven't seen too much Jose Iglesias. But Mike Schilt likes to use his guys, and he likes to use as many of those players as possible. If you haven't done so already on YouTube, be sure to give us a like on the YouTube video. It does a lot for us, goes a long way into spreading the word about the Braden Surprenant Show. We really appreciate that. Trying to grow the show, obviously. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our show in podcast form. If you missed anything, you can listen to it wherever you may be driving around. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast. All of these shows are in podcast form. Again, really appreciate if you guys subscribe and give us a rating on those particular avenues. You can also follow me on social media at B_SURP at BSURP. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and on Twitter. I got a shout out today from my university, which was super cool. So that was posted today. And a big thanks to them for giving me some love. They lost last night women's basketball. Tough end of the season, but they were better than any other year that I remember being at TCU. But anyway, pretty cool stuff out of that. Again, follow me on social media at B_SURP. We really appreciate it. If you want to join the show today, talk about the Padres, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I think we're going to do it later on in the 1 o'clock hour. You know, it kind of sparked a conversation today in one of my friends' group chats, and they hate when I bring it up, but it's content. So today, does everybody know what today is? Does everybody know what the anniversary of today is? I know Aztec fans know. Today is the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot that got him into the national championship game when they were at the Final Four. That happened today a couple of years ago. And so in this particular group chat that I have, we got a couple Aztecs in there. We got a Washington State Cougar, who, by the way, said he's undefeated at Padre games this year. So the chat, get off his ass. He wanted me to play that along because he was the friend that last year always had he had a bad record at the Padre games. He had to be banned from Petco. But that being said, two Aztecs in the group, a Washington State guy and an Irvine guy, and then me, the TCU guy. And then San Diego State, one of them, Sushi Sam, says, happy to all to celebrate the greatest moment in San Diego sports history today, the anniversary, the greatest moment in San Diego sports history, the Lamont Butler shot, in which one of my friends who did not go to San Diego State, who went to a school that would not root for San Diego State, and the Irvine product goes, relax, bro. So it sparked the question in the chat, since it's the anniversary today, what is the greatest sports moment in San Diego history? I said, even though this guy doesn't like San Diego State, I said, it might not be number one, but it's definitely top 5. And then they started putting in their list together. And there's a lot of good ones on there.
And there's some that are on there that happened before most of the people in the chat were even alive, which is interesting too. Lamont Butler shot, maybe. Obviously, the Chargers beating the Steelers to go to the Super Bowl. I think you could put Jake Cronenworth's knock in 2022 in the playoffs to beat the Dodgers in there. There's a lot of different moments that you could talk about. Is the Lamont Butler shot the best sports moment in San Diego history? We'll talk about that more in 1 o'clock hour. We will get back to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Clay in the South Bay. Clay, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, at least yesterday was a more relaxed game. I didn't have to grab for any heart medicines in my chest or anything. I mean, that was a great game. But you hit on it, Braden, and that's the chemistry that A.J. Preller has brought into this group, both managerial and players. I think that's the winning combination is the attitude, the pitching, the clean fielding, the positive, the grinders, and the old school. I think that chemistry, all in all, is equivalent to the success that they're having right now. And to just contrast from 2024, in 2024, we had to play 11 games to be at 5 wins. This year, we're at 5 wins without having to go to the extent of losing 6. So obviously, we're off to a great start. Hope the team continues. And always listening, you know I love my Padres, but 1984 will always be my favorite of San Diego sports memories.
Well, I appreciate
it. Have a great day, Fred.
Thank you, Clay. Well, hold on, Clay. Oh, he's gone. Clay's, say he's from more Northern Ohio guy. But despite his Northern Ohio base, I saw it in the chat, he will root for Kyle Hart being a Southern Ohio guy for the betterment of the Padres. We appreciate that, Clay. We appreciate that. A lot of people are in the chat are commenting on the greatest sports moment in San Diego history. Again, today's the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot. We'll talk about that in the 1 o'clock hour. A lot of people remembering the blocked pass for the Chargers against the Steelers in the AFC Championship game before my time. I've heard the story multiple times when they came back to Qualcomm and they packed the place and it felt like the stadium was going to collapse because of how many people they packed in there. It was a great memory for a lot of people. I think a sneaky one too. And again, we'll talk about it later on the 1 o'clock hour. Even though they didn't win, there's something about the Tony Gwynn home run in the 1998 World Series in Game 1 of the World Series to take a lead. And at that point, put San Diego atop of the sports world for the first time really ever, I think is a memorable moment. So that might be near the top of the list too, but there's a lot on there. And we'll break that down later in the 1 o'clock hour. Again, if you want to join the show, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Jurickson Profar yesterday, it came out that he got suspended for PED use. And we had the report at the end of our show, and it was interesting to get the report. Again, it was, not really getting picked up by any of the local beat writers in Atlanta. I didn't see it from any of the national pundits either. And so we were kind of waiting, and then it finally came down from Jeff Passan during Gwynn and Chris, in which Jurickson Profar had been suspended 80 games for PED usage. The tweet was, Atlanta Braves outfielder Jurickson Profar is being suspended for 80 games for violating MLB's PED policy, sources confirmed to ESPN. First with the news was Mike Deportes, Mike Rodriguez on Twitter. He was the report that we first saw as well. Jurickson Profar released a statement talking about how it was the most difficult day of his baseball career. He's devastated to announce that he has been suspended for 80 games by the commissioner's office for testing positive for a banned substance this offseason. This is especially painful because anyone who knows me and has seen me play knows I am deeply passionate about the game. There is nothing I love more than competing with my teammates and being a fan favorite. I want to apologize to the entire Braves organization, my teammates, and the fans. It is because of my deep love and respect for this game that I would never knowingly do anything to cheat it. I have been tested my entire career, including 8 times last season alone, and have never been tested positive. I would never willingly take a banned substance, but I take full responsibility and accept MLB's decision. I'm devastated that I won't be on the field with my teammates for the next 80 games. I look forward to competing again at the highest level this season upon my return. That's what Profar had to say through the MLB Players Association, who released the statement on behalf of Jerks and Profar. As for the Atlanta Braves, they put their own statement out, and it sounded like such a disgruntled parent for like one of their children. It wasn't the greatest statements in the world, but the Braves put out, we were surprised and extremely disappointed to learn that Jerks and Profar tested positive for a performance-enhancing substance in violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Prevention and Treatment Program. We fully support the program and are hopeful that Jerkson will learn from this experience. That sounds like a disappointed parent right there. You know, a lot of the times you get the, we support Jerkson in this. It's a difficult time, all that other stuff. We, all the facts out and everything like that. But very interesting on their perspective. They asked, obviously, with his connection to the San Diego Padres, what Mike Schilt had to say about the matter. Here's Mike Schilt before yesterday's game about the Jerks and Profar news.
I literally just found out before I got out here, and I love Jerks and Profar no more or no less right now than I loved him an hour ago. I still love him, and I don't know the circumstances behind it, but I know the person it is, bro, and I love the guy.
Are you surprised by it? Considering everything that you do know about it, are you surprised by it?
I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, I'm surprised by it. I mean, I think, I mean, all I can tell you is I don't know the circumstances, so I'm not going to speak to it. All I can tell you is I love Profar, and I'll support him regardless.
I mean, that's pretty much all you can say, right? If you're Mike Schilt. I mean, he's not a player in your team anymore. I mean, I don't think he's going to negatively look at Jerks and Profar in the future. To me, I don't know if I'm necessarily up in arms about it. I grew up in an era of baseball where majority of my life we had like the steroid kind of group. I was born in the mid 90s, and most of like the early 2000s and late 90s was the middle to end of the steroid era, and then moved along to other scandals in Major League Baseball, if you will. I don't know. I'm not like that upset about the steroid user issues in baseball. And I think that's for other teams too. Like, I'm not super against, like, it's against here's what I'm going to say. It's against the rules. So from that perspective, like, I'm not thrilled that these guys broke the rules. All of the players, right? But at the same time, I just think it's like people want to just destroy the players on other teams for steroids when they hide their own all the time. To me, you're either against all the steroid users or you don't care, or you're for them. I mean, there's no picking and choosing. Like, Giants fans like to point out a lot of, flaws in steroid users, but they have Barry Bonds. I think the same thing can be said about San Diego Padres fans that love to, S on the Giants and Barry Bonds. Meanwhile, they had like, Ken Caminiti and some other players in the past that also were on steroids. I mean, it's just like there were so many players on steroids during those eras that it's like, who cares? I think it's really a non-story. I mean, Jerks and Profar is going to be out 80 games. It goes back to like the Strange Gordon that talked about steroids after a big contract. It's like the guy got his contract, or I think he was talking about somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head. Was he talking about himself, or who was he talking about? Yeah, yesterday. The Strange Gordon.
Oh, those were quotes that I read at the end of the show from D. Gordon's friend, who basically said D was incentivized. Why wouldn't he?
Right. Okay, steroids? Yeah, right. So he
got his payday.
Got his payday. You're cheating to get a payday, though, isn't that? There's some moral issues with that, to an extent. I mean, I think, morally, it's not great. I mean, I think it shows that, your character to a certain extent. But again, the answer is, every time the response is always like, "Oh, I didn't mean to do it," or you either accept responsibility or you say you didn't do it. I mean, you can't give both in the statement, and that's what kind of Profar did. I don't hate Jurickson Profar. I wish he was still on the Padres. I mean, right now, obviously, it stinks that he's got to sit out 80 games. Hopefully, he learns from it, whatever the mistake potentially would have been. I don't think it changes my opinion on Jurickson Profar, just like Mike Schultz said the same thing. People have to make their own decisions about issues. And at one point, he made a decision to put that into his body, knowing the consequences, and that's the decision that he made.
He also didn't appeal.
And he also didn't appeal. He just took it, and he's like, I'll sit out the 80 games. I think you could come back from these now. Especially like Fernando came back from it, right? So, an interesting topic. We'll try to we'll get to more of that later on in the show, but it's time for the sports thread.
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
Adam Klug is here to give us the 5 trending stories in professional sports as we wrap up hour number 2 with today's sports thread.
Let's go.
Number 1.
You seem very excited on a Tuesday.
Padres are 5-0.
5-0.
What's there not to be excited about?
Well, now that they're not playing the Padres anymore, we got to get your Braves going a little bit.
Well, they're actually the first question in here. That's something not to get excited about. The Braves didn't understand the assignment, Braden.
No.
They lost to the Dodgers last night. We wanted them to beat the Dodgers, right?
Well, yeah, it'd be nice.
Braves dropped to 0-5 on the season. At what point should the Braves organization be concerned about their slow start? Do you want to give a specific record or number of games under 500 or certain point in the season? At what point should they stop saying, okay, just a slow start?
If they're like give them the end of April. I think for the first couple of games, they have been putting, for as great of a start the Padres have had, the Atlanta's had the exact opposite, right? They have 3 guys injured to start the season, 3 important pieces that are expected to get back. They just lost Profar for 80 games. They have to deal with this particular distraction. They go in and play San Diego. They get swept by the Padres, and then $500 by the end of April, then I think they might be a little concerned, but not too much.
Number 2.
Tiger Woods decided to be a prankster today, Braden. Did you see this?
With the Masters.
He pulled an April Fool's joke on his fans. Tiger started out by tweeting out this message earlier this morning. I can't believe I'm saying this, but a few weeks after rupturing my left Achilles, the sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber plus the explosive lifts my doctors and trainers have me ready to play the Masters next week. So he wants people to believe he's doing explosive lifts on a torn Achilles. Says, can't wait. See y'all on the course. Tiger waited 6 minutes.
That's it?
That's kind of an eternity, isn't it?
No, he should have just turned his phone off. Turned his phone off,
thrown the grenade in the room and left,
and then leave out for like 4 hours.
Well, 6 minutes later, he tweeted, P.S. April Fools, my Achilles is still a mess. Grade Tiger's April Fool's joke on a scale from A to F, like a grade school grade.
I would give it an A. I think that's a great April Fool's joke because he always finds a way to play. He goes in the Masters with like crutches on, and like it was a believable kind of tweet. I just don't think it was as outlandish as some of these colleges and these that run these sports accounts on social media that put out terrible April Fool's jokes. Like TCU had one about like building a Disneyland on campus or something dumb, and there's other, about acquiring other schools from. It's just, West Kentucky thought we were going to put Big Red's face on the basketball court. Come on, give me a break.
Number 3.
Let's do our weekly Aaron Rodgers check-in, shall we? Yesterday, Steelers owner Art Rooney II said at the NFL owners' meetings that he's hearing that Rodgers is, quote, heading in our direction. Rooney added, quote, we keep getting positive sort of signals about it, so yeah, I'd say we feel pretty good about it at this point, end quote. Narrator, we'll see how good you feel about it once he actually arrives. Just my 2 cents. Would Aaron Rodgers make the Steelers, who did make the playoffs last season, a legit Super Bowl contender?
On paper, yes, but from a locker room standpoint, no. I think he destroys that organization.
Number 4.
We'll stick with NFL QB news coming out of the NFL owners meetings, as 49ers owner Jed York said yesterday that the organization's decision to let 17 players leave via free agency and also not spend much money in free agency was directly tied to the team's need to sign Brock Purdy to a big contract. Are the 49ers making a mistake signing Brock Purdy to a huge contract at the expense of having a more well-rounded roster?
Yes, absolutely. They're making a mistake on that. I said that before. I predicted that 2 to 3 years ago. I said it's not going to be great when they give Purdy the big franchise quarterback contract, because he's not one of those quarterbacks that can single-handedly carry a franchise. He's just not. And when he doesn't have the weapons, it's not going to be good. It's not going to look good for the San Francisco 49ers, but they do draft well, so maybe they can replenish their deal. But I don't think you could give that kind of money to Brock Purdy and expect to be a Super Bowl contender. That'll do it for the sports thread. When we come back in the noon hour, some stuff that happened in Sacramento last night that showed a dark side of professional sports. What was it? We'll talk about it. Plus, how concerned should some teams be to start the season in MLB? Braden Surprenant Show rolls on. 97 through the Fan.
Welcome back to the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will take over at 2. We talk about Padres baseball all show long. We'll get some other news and stuff out there as throughout baseball. We got some other news. We'll talk more about the Jerickson Profar PED suspension just a little bit and get to some other things. But coming up in this hour, you got an opportunity to play our debut game. We're calling it the Midday Sports Standoff. We're going to be doing it each and every day at 12:45, where you're going to try to outdo me in some sports trivia, trying to guess a particular topic back and forth. If the answers on there repeat a couple of spots, you get extra points. If not, whoever's got the most points at the end will win the contest. It'll make a lot more sense later on. I don't think this is the question today, but an example would be opening day starters for the San Diego Padres since 2010. And so you guess who the opening day starters were back and forth, and whoever gets the most correct will win the contest. If you particularly said Yu Darvish in that situation, since he had started multiple times, I think 3 opening day starts, you would get technically 3 points. And since we're nice on the midday show, a tie wins for you as well. So we'll have that coming for you at about 12:45. You could take us out on the brand new Midday Sports Standoff. Should be a fun time. We look forward to that. Can't wait for the question that Adam has for us in that particular sense. Coming up on Friday, I already mentioned we will not have a show because the Padres are playing. But Mike Schilt will be on with Ben and Woods on Friday. Tune into the Manager's Report with Mike Schilt this Friday at 9 a.m. on Ben and Woods. The Manager's Report is refreshed by EcoWater SoCal. Try alkaline water for just $9.95 a month. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Got to go with the EcoWater SoCal. Got to get good water in your body, good water in your house, good stuff. So, and we have camera issues again. So I'm going to try to troubleshoot that as we go through here on the Braden Surprenant Show. But I do want to talk about another thing that I thought was very pressing last night, something in Major League Baseball. We'll get back to the Jerickson Profar story, and we'll talk a little bit more about some teams that it might be. Is it time to panic yet? When is it time to panic for some of these ball clubs? We'll get to that in just a little bit. Oh, there you go. Now I'm back. Back on the screen. The camera issues today have been just surreal. But we're back on. Yesterday was the first time that the Athletics did not play a home game in Oakland, aside from the other cities that they were in before. And they were in Sacramento for the first time. Danny Vietti of CBS Sports, who I'm going to try to get on the show to explain this, because the Padres are going up there next week. As a Northern California guy that he is, he decided to go check it out. And he reported on it on CBSSports.com. If you want to go look at the whole article, you can. But last night was the first time that they had a Major League ball game in Sacramento. And Danny Vietti went out there and wanted to get the full fan experience. And again, this is an opening day kind of event. So he did a couple of things different, and he wanted to take in the whole scene. And he describes a lot of it on there. There was an announced sellout crowd of 12,000 yesterday into Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento on Monday night to watch the A's play the Cubs in the first MLB game in the city's history. Cubs destroyed the A's. Cubs even got a cycle out of it. So you had history in the first game, more than just the A's being in Sacramento. But he wanted to get the full experience. So he went down to get the full Sacramento experience. He parked downtown by the state capitol, and he made his, a little half-mile walk downtown through historic old Sacramento and across the Tower Bridge to the ballpark. And it's 4 o'clock on a Monday. Scattered showers up there in Northern California, just like it was here yesterday. So Sacramento downtown wasn't necessarily a hopping place with excitement. Bars and restaurants quiet.
Most people from Sacramento just getting off work. He said the walk itself was scenic, but there was very few A's jerseys, signs, stories, promotions to be seen. He then compares it to Oakland. Obviously, the walk, you couldn't really walk. It's not nearly walkable to get to the Oakland Coliseum. If you've been around there recently, you will understand. But the city of Oakland was always about it. He tried to see if there was a tailgate scene. There wasn't really a tailgate scene at all. In Oakland, there always was. So that kind of slow build to a game like we experienced at Baja Ricks on Thursday wasn't really there. He gets to the ballpark, and there was a sea of green and gold. There was a lot of fans there, excited. Excitement sparked with the gates opened. Concession stand queues might have been longer. Fans with lawn seats beyond the right field fence rushed to get to the best spot they could. Vendors were shouting. Music filled the ballpark. Everything was all exciting. A's debut in Sacramento was the hottest ticket in town. It wasn't cheap either. Median ticket price for A's home games this season are $181. Marcotte said in his pregame speech that it could be a home field advantage for us, for sure. That's our goal. We've embraced being here in every way. They honored Ricky Henderson, the late Ricky Henderson, before the game after his death in December by having every player wear number 24 in their jersey. It looked like an A's home crowd. It sounded like an MLB game. But he described the entire experience as awkward. Sacramento up there, again, for the A's, they do what the Angels do. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you go to an Angels game, they're not the Los Angeles Angels on the mic. It's just your Angels. I don't know if it's because they've changed their name multiple times from California to LA, or LA to California, back to LA to Anaheim, all that stuff. But the Angels are just the Angels. And now with the A's, they don't want to be associated with Sacramento. They're just simply the A's. No city affiliation. Yeah, the Athletics. The A's, the Athletics. In fact, even the stadium scoreboard last night said Chicago and Athletics, which asks the question and leads into a deeper conversation, I think. Is it even really Sacramento's team? Danny Vietti goes on to talk about some of the groups of fans that try to Sacramento chant. Those quickly died off. A couple of Let's Go Oaklands broke out, but that didn't sustain. Let's Go Sacto was tried but failed, and in a way almost felt like Sacramento and Oakland chants were competing with one another, despite 75% of the crowd rooting for the same team. The entirety of the game, there was not a single chant that echoed in unison. There were no drums or kazoos like you used to see in Oakland. The absence of the Oakland Coliseum right field bleacher crew was pronounced. Perhaps the loudest chant of the game was "Sell the Team," directed at A's owner John Fisher after the sixth inning. And then about half the stadium emptied before the game ended as the home team's deficit ballooned to 15 runs. It was an ugly game all the way around. The team did not have a city affiliation. The A's are playing in a spring training-sized ballpark that is already occupied by one of their opponent's minor league clubs, and they are playing in a new city in front of a new fan base, in one that they don't even want to be in anyway, which shows the dark side of American sports. And we feel that here in San Diego, being a team or being a city that has lost a professional franchise. It's the corporate greed of some of these organizations that has led to this black eye for professional sports, one of it being this unrealistic and really awkward fit of a team because of billionaire owners wanting a brand new stadium and not wanting to have to pay for it. And in California, that doesn't fly at all over here because we already pay enough in a lot of different fees and taxes where signing off on a brand new tax to build a billionaire stadium, that ain't going to fly. It flies in other cities because of a couple of things. One, there's less to do in a lot of those cities. And two, they don't have to pay as high in taxes for property taxes and all this other stuff. They have a little bit more means of paying an extra 50 cents on this, 50 cents on that, even though it adds up to more money in taxes. Or they agree to let tourists do it, which we don't do apparently.
But it leads to this black eye of professional sports in America. Like in Europe, like teams don't move. They've never moved. They don't move. They're there. That's what they are. They get the support. It's fine. And the owners find ways, and I don't know what the details are, okay, before I get yelled at by soccer fans. But in reality is they don't move. There's not an issue with stadiums being built. There's not an issue with who's paying for this, who's paying for that. Is it the city? Is it the team? They coincide. You don't have to deal with that with colleges either. The colleges aren't moving. They're not leaving. That's a different animal, though. That's apples and oranges comparison. But why I believe and why I like college sports a lot, it really is the identity of their city for a lot of those regions. And you see the passion. You don't see that a lot in a lot of these corporate sports, and you're seeing the transition from the diehard fans to the corporate sponsorships and the boxes and everything like that, where you don't get to see that kind of lively energy at games anymore because of this kind of corporate greed that's put together. So last night, you saw the A's debut in a city they don't want to be in, trying to move to a city that doesn't really want them. Where have we seen this before? And you're starting to see it with a lot of professional sports right now. You're not getting the public funding for stadiums, and you really shouldn't. I think if the cities are going to use said stadiums, I think they have to have some skin in the game. But at the same time, I think the majority of the purchasing should be from the team itself that owns the building. Whoever owns the building should be paying, or wants to own the building, should be paying the majority of the cost to build said building. And so you get these lousy owners like the Athletics owner in Fisher, like the Spanos family for the Chargers, that just ruin their organization because even though they have these teams, they're not rich enough to put money down to build the stadiums that they want to build, because everybody continues to try to copy Jerry Jones in his palace that he has in Texas, or even Kroenke Stadium in LA. You could say what you want about Stan Kroenke, and he did pull a team out of a city in St. Louis, right, for his own doing. And so I don't think you could really give him a pass compared to the Spanos family, because he relatively did the exact same thing. There's a little bit of a difference, but he did relatively the same thing. So I don't want to give him too much of a pass. But at the same time, who built the stadium in Los Angeles? He did. It wasn't the citizens of LA. Definitely wasn't Dean Spanos. He built the stadium. He found a way to finance it with whatever he was doing. He's paying for it. In Texas, they set the cost of what the stadium was going to be. Jerry Jones had his stake in the stadium that they built. Arlington did pay for some of it, but all the overages, Jerry covered. So you see these owners that have the ability to do this, and you also see the owners that don't, that get rewarded with brand new facilities in new cities, and they use these cities as pawns. That to me shows such a black eye on professional sports. It's why I like college a little bit more, because of the passion and the fact that they're never going to leave. But how many more times are we going to do this? Are we about to do this with the Rays? I mean, the Rays have been trying to get a new stadium for years. Now, the circumstances right now, obviously, are a hurricane or drastically different down in Tampa. But that's another team that's going to need a new stadium. Eventually, we as cities together just need to unite and be like, we're not doing this anymore. And then they wouldn't be able to move as much. But again, these guys don't want to pay for their brand new toys. They want to get it for free. And you get this really deflating look at some of the franchises throughout baseball because they're led by lackluster owners. I think you saw that on display last night in Oakland. We'll see what it looks like next week. I mean, the Padres will go there next week. See what the vibe is. We'll try to get Danny Vietti on the show as well. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. How concerned should some teams be to start the season? We'll give you our concerno factor on 6 MLB teams that were expected to do a lot better than they've done to start the season. That's when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, saying his number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:20 on a Tuesday. Padres in action again tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. Game 2 of the 3-game series against Cleveland. Padres took game 1 trying to get a series win tonight over the Guardians. First pitch will be at 6:40. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show will be at 5:40 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Coming up next will be Tony Wood Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby for Gwynn and Chris as we lead you into first pitch tonight as the Padres not only try to win the series, but extend their longest winning streak to start a season in franchise history. They broke the record last night, 5-0. Best start to a season in franchise history for the Padres. Trying to go to 6-0 tonight. Today is the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot, which posed the question of best 5 moments in San Diego sports history. A little bit of a debate this morning between my friends. We're going to talk about that in the 1 o'clock hour. I got some up my sleeve with some highlights that I found as well. So we'll talk about that. What do you guys think? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Padres are off to a great start. Can't say the same about some other teams that are expected to win divisions, expected to make the postseason. Again, these early season starts don't necessarily they're not precursors to what the season could be for a lot of these teams. It's not like the Braves starting 0-5 is going to knock them out of the playoffs just yet, but how concerned should some of these fans be? If you are a fan of some of these teams, how concerned are you? We're going to discuss right now with how concerned should you be about these 6 particular teams in Major League Baseball. We'll start with the American League as we look at some teams that were expected to do well this season that are not. And one of them being, and they finally got their first win yesterday, the Detroit Tigers. Tigers this season are now 1-3 as they were able to finally get a win last night. Now, the downside to the Tigers is they had to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first 3 games of the season. But Detroit played last night. They were able to knock off the Seattle Mariners on the road. They won that game 9-6. With the win yesterday and them beating the Mariners by 3, they're now 1-3 with a -5 run differential. How concerned should you be if you're a Tigers fan? I would say not that concerned. I think the Tigers are a pretty good baseball team. Last night, they got the bats out. They scored 9 runs on 18 hits. They did commit 1 error, but they beat up the Mariners a little bit last night. And with the Tigers, after the 3-game loss to the Dodgers to start the season on the road, I just think you just played a really good baseball team. As Buster Only said on Gwynn and Chris, the greatest baseball team he has ever seen. Holy glaze. But I'm not that concerned about the Detroit Tigers. There's a team in their division, though, I am highly concerned about if I'm a fan of them, and that would be the Minnesota Twins. Twins are 0-4 to start the year. Over the weekend, Minnesota started in St. Louis, and they got their ass kicked so bad against the Cardinals that a lot of people were like, hey, maybe the Cardinals can compete this year. I still don't think the Cardinals are going to be a big competitive team. In fact, I know they're not, because what did the Cardinals do yesterday? They lost to the Angels. That'd be the 3-1 Angels, by the way. Don't look now. Hey, maybe the 2014 Los Angeles Angels that they have constructed are going to be in full force in 2025. Angels beat the Cardinals yesterday 5-4. They scored 5 runs on 4 hits. Cardinals 4 runs on 11 hits in 10 innings yesterday. Halos beat the Cardinals, who beat up on the Twins all weekend long. So to go back to the Twins, yeah, they're in some major concerns. And if getting swept by St. Louis wasn't good enough to really sound the alarm, how about the Twins yesterday against the Chicago White Sox? They lost 9-0 to Chicago and got no hit through 6 innings, 6 1/3 before they finally got their 2 hits on the day. Martin Perez goes 6 innings, no hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts, 3 walks against the Minnesota Twins, who threw Chris Paddock against the White Sox, who still are not supposed to be competing very much this season. Chicago tagged Chris Paddock for all 9 runs, 3 in the first, 4 in the second, 2 in the third, on 6 hits in 3 1/3 innings. Chris Paddock had 2 strikeouts and 4 walks. White Sox beat up on the Twins 9-0. If it wasn't the Cardinals that gave you the alarm, Twins fans, it should be the White Sox. And if I'm Rocco Baldelli, I'm a little concerned right now about what my job future is in Minnesota. High level of concern if you're the Minnesota Twins. That division's expected to be wide open. We saw Cleveland last night. They're a solid team, but they're not world beaters. Detroit's expected to be a favorite for the division, one of, with Kansas City. They're both off to okay starts. What are the Twins doing? They're getting their ass handed to them. They must be playing against Jackson Merrill every night. We're here to beat the opponent's ass. I'm really concerned if I'm the Minnesota Twins. Boston Red Sox. I'm slightly concerned if I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. Boston last night lost to Baltimore 8-5, and after winning the first game of the year, lost 3 in a row to the Texas Rangers, who are better. I think Texas is going to be the division winner in the American League West, but the Red Sox were everybody's favorite pick to win the American League and go on to the World Series. Red Sox are 1-4. Not only that, their best player in Rafael Devers, or the one they gave the most money to, he looks awful at the plate. I mean, he looks absolutely putrid at the plate. Devers got the big contract to be the starting third baseman of the Red Sox. They bring in Alex Bregman, and they go like, Alex Bregman's going to play second, and Rafael's going to play third, and it's going to be fine. And then they quickly came to their senses and realized that Rafael Devers is one of the worst defensive third basemen in all of Major League Baseball. And they need to have Alex Bregman there, who's one of the best defensive third basemen in all of Major League Baseball. And what do? They tell Rafael Devers in spring training at some point, hey, buddy, we're going to need you to be the DH. And then for 72 hours, the guy turned into a gigantic baby about it. It was so bad for Rafael Devers, they had to bring in David Ortiz for 3 days to try to get him off the ledge. And so what has Rafael Devers done in his first 5 games of the season in 23 plate appearances and 19 at-bats? Not get a hit and strike out 15 freaking times. Because he's not playing third base. Give me a break, dude. This could be a segment of Are You Good? Wake up and go play, my guy. Until he gets in the right frame of mind, I'm a little concerned if I'm a Red Sox fan, because this is a rough start to the season when you have high expectations. That's how concerned you should be with the American League. We'll talk about the National League in just a little bit. We do got to take a break. What 3 teams should be concerned with their starts in the National League? I'll tell you, plus the debut of our brand new game, the Midday Sports Standoff. We'll get to that as well as we continue the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:35 on a Tuesday, leading you up to Gwynn and Chris, and then the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show for Padres and Guardians, game 2 of a 3-game set. Padres and Guardians will get underway at 6:40 p.m. Pacific time. Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show at 5:40. Gwynn and Chris will take you from 2 o'clock to about 5:35-ish to get you ready for Padres baseball. They'll have a lot to unpack after last night's game. We'll talk more about it in the 1 o'clock hour. We also will dive into another topic that I think is very interesting right now, and that is, did you guys see the news yesterday that Jeff Passan put out? No, not the Profar stuff. Already talked about the Profar stuff. Jeff Passan put this out yesterday. He reported on a contract extension, and that is for left-hander Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet and the Boston Red Sox are in agreement of a 6-year, $170 million contract extension, according to ESPN. Deal starts in 2026 and includes an opt-out after 2030, by far the largest deal ever for a pitcher with 4+ years of service. Garrett Crochet's $170 million deal with the Red Sox does not include any deferred money per sources. The previous record for a 4+ player was Jacob deGrom's 5-year, $137.5 million deal, which included an opt-out after the 4th season. Crochet can opt out at 31 years old. Interesting contract that he just signed. Now, how does that affect the market for Michael King and for Dylan Cease? That obviously affects the San Diego Padres very much if they want to bring back one of those two players. If they want to bring back both, obviously, I don't know if they can do that. It seems like they're leaning a little bit towards Michael King after the contract they gave him in order to avoid arbitration. But we'll talk about that in the 1 o'clock hour. Is that the bar? Is that the minimum starting point for Michael King? We're talking about a pitcher that's very comparable. Obviously, he's from the left side. He's a little bit younger. Michael King a little bit older. But both players, bullpen pieces, moved to starting pitchers that have done well near the top of the starting rotation market. He got $170 million for 6 years. Michael King and his agent might be sitting, I don't know. Seems like a good starting point for us. Can the Padres even afford the Garrett Crochet version of that contract? We'll discuss at 1 o'clock. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We are going to play a brand new game on the Braden Surprenant show. Once we get a contestant, we're going to play it at about 12:45. So we do have a couple minutes here. The midday sports standoff. We're going to be doing this every day at 12:45. So if you want to have an opportunity to come on and qualify for a chance to win a grand prize for 2 sold-out tickets to win We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas on October 18th, featuring Blink-182, Panic at the Disco, The Offspring, and more. Tickets for the 2-day sale are on sale now at whenwewereyoungfestival.com. If you want to try to win an opportunity to get those tickets, 2 sold-out tickets to When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas on October 18th, featuring Blink-182, Panic at the Disco, The Offspring, and more, you got to try to take me down on a brand new game that does some sports trivia coming up at 12:45. The new midday sports standoff. We'll get to that in just a little bit. I do want to finish out some of the teams that are in the National League where you should be concerned to start the season. One of them is the Atlanta Braves. I think this is probably the most glaring one. After the loss last night to Los Angeles, the Braves are 0-5 with a negative 15 run differential. I can't believe the Braves are off to an 0-5 start. But that being said, I don't really think it's that big of a concern if you're a Braves fan, because you have reinforcements coming. You have reinforcements coming to help you out with Ronald Acuna Jr., with Spencer Strider, with Sean Murphy. You will eventually get Jurickson Profar back after the next 80 games, which still gives you about a half of a season worth of games of Jurickson Profar. So they're not completely
in dismay right now. Plus, you've gone against the red-hot Padres team and, as Buster Olney said, the greatest baseball team he's ever seen in the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, if they win the next 2 games against LA, not betting on it, but if they do, all of a sudden the attitude changes, I think, for the Braves. Plus, when they return home and face a little bit lighter of a schedule, it should be they should be able to get on a little bit of a run for Brian Snitker's crew. Again, as he mentioned on Sunday Night Baseball, when we lose 4 games in the middle of July, nobody cares. But the fact it's at the beginning of the season, everybody goes into panic mode. I agree with him. I'm not concerned. Pirates at 1-4. Not that they're going to compete too much, but they're expected to be a lot better than this. And they went down to Miami and got walked off multiple times this weekend. They got 1 win in Miami, but then they lose again. They're 1-4, -7 run differential. I think you're slightly concerned if you're a Pirates fan, but not really, because I don't think the expectations are really there. You have Paul Skeens. You do have some young players. You have some old players up the middle. I mean, you still got Andrew McCutcheon on the team, and you got Adam Frazier. And so it's an interesting mix. Pirates were never really competing for that much this season anyway, so overall not that concerned, but it is concerning that you got off to the start that you did. The last team for you, the Milwaukee Brewers. This is the most concerned I think any fan base should be, is the Brewers. 0-4, the -32 run differential. They went to New York and got destroyed by the Yankees all weekend, in which everybody just assumed it was about the bats and the Torpedo Bats, which put this big stink about the Torpedo Bats and the New York Yankees and how they're cheating with their bats. And then they play Kansas City at home last night or yesterday afternoon for their home opener and their version of opening day. And the Royals, who lost 2 of 3 to the Guardians, go into Milwaukee and hit. They get you for an 11-1 beatdown. 11-1 on 14 hits to put the Brewers at 0-4 in the year. Sound the alarm. This is a major concern for Pat Murphy and company. The Brewers already, I was not really high on because of their offseason, because of the lack of talent that they had. They do have some talent still. It's still a Major League Baseball team, but I was not sold on them being a competitive team this year. I think the Cubs win that division, even though they got off to a rough start. They bounced back yesterday against the A's. Brewers off to an 0-4 start with a -32 run differential. It might be a rough year in Milwaukee. It's still early, but my level of concern is very, very high. Very, very high. We got some time now. Let's debut our midday sports standoff to try to get somebody qualified for a trip to Vegas. Let's hit the bumper.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right. Who's our contestant today as we bring in Adam Klug?
I was going to let you pick.
All right, we're gonna go with let's go with Alex and Del Mar. Alex, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brandon, I like your show. Thank you for the new show. I really like it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, dude. Let's get you an opportunity to win a trip to Vegas if you take me down today. And how's this gonna work? Adam's gonna ask a sports question that has multiple answers to it. There's Braden and Alex on the scoreboard. And what's going to happen is on this list, there'll be a list of names on there or teams or what have you. And the more that you get,
a list of answers,
correct answers. And whoever gets the most points will win. We'll go back and forth. You get to go first. And if there's a tie, since we're nice on the midday show, you will win today's contest. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If there are any answers on there, Alex, that are multiples, you will get extra points for it. So if Adam was to go opening day starters for the Padres since 2000, and you said Yu Darvish, you would get 3 points. So Obviously, you want to go for the ones that appear more
So
on
we're
this
going until I
list.
run out of answers.
Yes.
And then whoever has the most points, or until someone gets
Or
three
until you get
strikes.
3 strikes. If you guess wrong, you get a
Yeah, it's like
strike.
the
If
Quinn
you
and
don't
Craven
take enough
game.
time, if you take too much time, you will also get a strike. So it's our debut voyage of the game, so we have to over-explain. But Alex, you're the first contestant on it. We'll see if you could start 1-0 as I pass it over to Adam.
In the same vein as your opening day starters since, I went a little bit different because I know we've done the opening day starters before, but I'm going to do opening day leadoff hitters for the Padres since 2015. So we're going back 10 years, 2015, opening day leadoff hitters for the San Diego Padres. We'll let Alex go first.
Tatis.
Boom. Fernando Tatis, leadoff hitter in 2025 and 2020, the pandemic shortened season.
Oh, wow. He did in 2020, too. So that's a good start. How many do we know?
That
how
was
many
against the Diamondbacks in 2020.
Is there any other repeats on here?
Wouldn't you like to know?
No, come on.
There's one other.
Or one other repeat on there, so a multi version since 2015. I feel like Freddie Galvis bat leadoff one time for the Padres.
Is that an official guess?
Yes. No, not Freddie Galvis.
He did not.
All right, Alex.
Braden with a
Profar.
strike.
Profar is a good answer. Really? He was batting leadoff later in the year, I guess.
Not on opening day, my friends.
Opening day. That's what makes it difficult. I remember like the opening day leadoff guys from the mid 2000s a lot. Since 2015. Huh. All right, so Tatis was 2020 and 2025.
That's correct.
Who was a leadoff hitter last year for like to start the season? It wasn't Arise because he wasn't on the team yet. Hassan Kim. He didn't bat leadoff either.
Last year's leadoff hitter garnered a lot of conversation before ultimately being moved
Oh,
down.
you know what? I know what that answer is
But
now.
Alex is up.
I remember
Bogart.
that. Yes. Bogarts was the correct answer on that one.
With a commanding 3-0 lead.
Right.
And you've got
I got one
you
strike
got two
left.
strikes.
So, yeah. Wow. I can't remember the line. The thing is the opening day lineup is rough to try to remember because, as I mentioned on opening day, when you walk through the catacombs of the stadium down to the clubhouse, they show the opening day lineups. You're just like, that guy played for the
couple
Padres.
of these guys you're not going to believe, by the way, when I give them to you afterwards.
Well, you know, there's some dark years for the Padres up to 2019.
Not that far back. 2015.
All right. So last year was Bogarts. This year was Tatis. 2023. I'm trying to think of. I thought I had one in like 2016 when they had that brand new roster roll through here. Was no, because he didn't start the season with the club. They had somebody else. I was gonna say Melvin Upton Jr., but that wasn't the case. He didn't bat leadoff to start.
Need
that
an answer
season.
here. Sushi Sam giving it to you in the chat.
I
too.
know. I just can't remember. Will Myers. Let's go Will Myers one time. There
Will
we go.
Myers in 2015 against the Dodgers.
2015. All right, so that was the one that I was thinking for that new lineup that they had. They went and traded
All
for
right,
everybody.
3-1. You're up, Alex, and you've got one strike.
I want to go Manuel Margot.
That's a good
Manny
answer.
Margot.
Manny Margot.
Boom.
He had the other
2-0.
two. He had the other two. Nice.
Manny Margot, 2017 against the Dodgers and 2018 against the Brewers.
So we have 15, 18, or 15, 17, 18, 2020, 2024, and 2025.
Yep. You still got 16, 19, 21, 22, 23.
And again, 2022 is rough too because again, like at the end of the season, it was
You won't
different.
get 22.
I won't get 22.
I don't know if you'll get any of these.
Well, they're all like obscure names then, probably.
If you miss
too.
this one, you're out also, by the way.
Right. It's got to be one of those just like... They didn't have Alexi Ramirez lead off one year, did they?
I don't know. Is
I'm
that
gonna
a
go with
guess?
that. Yeah, let's go Alexi Ramirez. Yeah, no way.
Not happening.
Oh, congrats to Alex for winning today. I got to pull up this list now.
Thanks. That's fine.
Hold tight for me, Alex.
Oh, Trent Grisham was probably on there.
Trent Grisham was 2023 against the Rockies.
Okay.
We have Austin Nola against the Diamondbacks.
Austin Nola. See, that's what makes it
2022.
so. Was that the only time Austin Nola ever hit leadoff?
Why? Well, that's the whole point of this list.
I
It makes you think.
know.
You're like, really?
That's what made it
happened?
so hard because you're thinking about the regular season.
2021 was Tommy Pham, also against the Diamondbacks.
Also, not a leadoff type hitter, but yes.
2019 was Ian Kinsler.
I never would have guessed Ian
against
Kinsler.
the Giants. Not that long ago. In 2016 was John Jay against the Dodgers.
John Jay. I forgot John Jay was a Padre. I think of him more as a first base coach now for the Diamondbacks. I don't even think he's there anymore. John Jay. All right, let me go find that. I got to look at these lists and these opening day starters. The leadoff, the Nola leadoff that had to be the only time that guy ever did that. Here's the opening day lineups. I mean, I would have got some of those guys. I mean, thank God Luke Voigt didn't bat leadoff in one of these games. Oh man, that would have been tough. Most common lineups. Where's the it's on Baseball Reference, right? They have the opening day lineups on there. Some of those.
No, I just literally went back year by year is what I did.
Oh, on the okay. I thought they had it. They just had the opening day rosters, the starters. So that season. So what year did Nola lead off? Was that 2022?
2022 against the Diamondbacks.
That lineup for the Pod was not the order. This is the defensive positions for that team. It's Nola, Hosmer, Cronenworth, Machado, Kim, Profar, Grisham, Myers, Darvish, and your designated hitter was Luke Voigt.
Can we get a little MLB closer news in here real quick?
I see I Need Money said David Bednar was optioned to AAA.
Yep. Official from the Pirates.
Former Padres farmhand David Bednar. All-star David Bednar.
Was he in the Adam Frazier trade? Or was it Joe Musgrove? I think he was Frazier.
I thought he was in the Musgrove trade. I can't because I thought was a pitcher involved at that one. Let me look that up. David Bednar gets sent down to AAA. Did he just get a decent contract?
It was with Musgrove.
It was with Musgrove. That's what
Padres
I thought.
Send David Bednar, Omar Cruz, Drake Fellows, and Hudson Head to the Pirates. Padres receive Joe Musgrove. Mets receive Joey Lucchesi from the Padres. Mets send Endy Rodriguez to the Pirates.
I still think the Padres get the better deal on that.
No doubt.
No hitter or not, I still think it's a better deal. What did David Bednar get a new Didn't he get paid? Didn't they pay him to steal?
He made an all-star team or two.
I know he did. He did make He made 2 all-star teams. 2022 and 2023, David Bednar was an all-star. He blew, how many saves did he blow this weekend? Just one? This year he's 0-2 with a 27 ERA in 3 games that he's pitched. He's only pitched 1 inning.
That'll do it for you.
When you're 0-2 and you've only thrown 1 inning in relief, yeah, that's could be sent down, I guess, if you have options in Pittsburgh to go along with their disappointing start that they have had to the season. He's getting paid $5.9 million. He's still not even ARB. He's ARB eligible? No, he just got a contract. That's what it is. Earliest free agency 2027. Might be available. Merrill broke Bednar last August. I think you're right on that, Brandon. I think you're right. That was a tough question to get things going on the new game, but I still think it's fun. So congratulations to Alex and Del Mar. You won a qualification for a grand prize, 2 sold-out tickets to When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas on October 18th, featuring Blink-182, Panic at the Disco, The Offspring, and more. Tickets for a 2-day sale. Tickets for day 2 on sale now at whenwewereyoungfestival.com. So Bednar gets sent down and Garrett Crochet gets paid. Some news around Major League Baseball. How does the Garrett Crochet trade affect the Padres? We will talk about when we come back. Also, it's the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot. Is that the best moment in sports history for San Diego? We'll talk about some of the other ones when we come back as well. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
1 o'clock on a starting to be a nicer Tuesday. Padres get ready for the Guardians coming up at 6:40 with a 5:40 pregame show on the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. After Gwen and Chris, who will be on in about an hour to talk more Padres baseball with you. Padres off to a really good start. We talked about it in our open today. If you missed any of it, you can go back and listen to it on our podcast form. You can also check us out on YouTube. Everybody that's on YouTube, give us a like if you haven't done so already. We really appreciate it. Anybody that's just tuned in, we got over 140-something people on there right now, which is awesome. But only 58 likes. Let's go. Let's get the likes up. It really helps with our content going out to other entities. Really appreciate that. If you're not into watching on YouTube, you can listen to it in a podcast form. All of our shows are posted hour by hour and the full show to wherever you get your podcast. Spotify, Apple Music, Odyssey app, all there. You can listen to it on those particular outlets. You can also follow the show at B_SURP, at BSURP. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. And if you want to weigh in on the show and you don't feel like calling in, which you can, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. You can also tweet at us. I had one guy disgruntled that I told him that I said Manny Machado is not a power hitter. He's not. He's a line drive hitter. When he hits home runs, it's because he smoked the ball. He's not a stereotypical power hitter. Please don't say Manny isn't a power hitter. He's on his way to 500 club. That's not a line drive gap hitter. You can hit home runs and not be a power hitter. Manny's not a power hitter. The guy's a pure hitter. Look at his home runs that he hits. They're not like nuclear bombs. They're line drive shots because the guy's a great hitter. You could be a great hitter and hit home runs. I didn't call him Tony Gwynn. I just say he's not a power hitter. Let's go, man. Let's get our ball knowledge up. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Beatty's locked in. He's already getting ready for Padres baseball at a bar, watching it on YouTube. That's great. Tell the bar to put it on the televisions, Blue. You don't know ball. Just a casual. Guys having a 394. Way to celebrate Tony. Coming up later in the hour, since today is the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot, which I'm sure Chris will play on Gwen and Chris because he will play that highlight any chance he has. As an Aztec for life and a diehard Aztec fan, I totally understand. But since it's the anniversary of that particular shot, my friends talked about, well, one of them thinks it's the greatest moment in San Diego sports history. Others said no. So they had a little debate today in the group chat, which asks the question, what is the greatest moment in San Diego sports history? We'll play some that I think should be in the top 5 later on in the show. But right now, I do want to mention, we talked about Kyle Hart. We talked about Gavin Sheets earlier in the show. But I want to mention some news that happened in Major League Baseball that I think has an impact on the San Diego Padres. It was tweeted out yesterday by Jeff Passan. No, it was not the Jerks and Profar news. But Garrett Crochet has a new contract with the Boston Red Sox that will start next year. He was able to sign a contract extension, which is interesting because remember last year when he was on the trade market, the conversation was he's only going to go to a place that will give him a contract extension, or he was going to refuse the pitch. Well, he ended up not getting traded last year at the trade deadline, and during the offseason, the Red Sox were able to acquire Garrett Crochet, and then yesterday gave him a 6-year, $170 million deal, which happened yesterday. According to Jeff Passan, left-handed Garrett Crochet and the Boston Red Sox are in an agreement on a 6-year, $170 million contract extension, sources tell ESPN. The deal starts in 2026 and includes an opt-out after 2030, by far the largest deal ever for a pitcher with 4+ years of service. His deal with the Red Sox does not include any deferred money per sources. The previous record for 4+ player
in terms of service was Jacob deGrom's 5-year, $137.5 million deal, which included an opt-out after the 4th season. Crochet can opt out at 31 years old. How does this affect the San Diego Padres? Well, Garrett Crochet comes in as a 25-year-old this season. He was born in 1999, so he's 25. He's a left-hander, and he was due to be a free agent coming up. He is a reliever turned starter at the University of Tennessee. And as a reliever turned starter and being at near the top of the echelon of starters in Major League Baseball, that really coincides with guys like Michael King and even Dylan Cease for the San Diego Padres, albeit they are now older. Michael King is 29 years old. So he's a little bit older, and he is a free agent at the end of the year. Garrett Crochet still was under control for a couple more years before he was going to hit the open market. So when you look at these contracts and you look at the contract for Garrett Crochet and what he got, it's almost like really a starting point for Michael King or Dylan Cease. Now, again, the difference is that the leverage that teams that can negotiate with those particular players, and in this particular case, we obviously want Michael King as a member of the San Diego Padres. His age is not going to help out too much in comparison. Obviously, Garrett Crochet being younger is going to give him some more money. But I look at this and I read and I look at the contract. Can the Padres even afford the 6-year, $170 million deal for a guy like Michael King? I don't necessarily know they can, but that is a good starting point for Michael King. How much more money can Michael King get in a contract? Garrett Crochet got bought out of some arbitration years and everything like that. Michael King's just a free agent. He's at age 29, so you have to pay him. Is he going to be able to get a 6-year deal? I don't know if I'd want to get. You're going to pay him till he's 36? I think it's easier to pay starting pitchers later into their careers just because the pitching, a lot of these guys develop late and they also can maintain because of, they're not putting, they're starting every 5th day and, it's not as daunting on their body, I think, as like everyday major leaguers that break down. But you're starting to see players last longer in their careers than we've seen in the past. So I don't think giving him a contract till 36 would be that much of a problem. Obviously, you'll run into some injuries and everything like that eventually. 6 years and $170 million gets you about $28 million in AAV, as I Need Money puts in the chat. $28.3 million in your average annual value. Is Michael King going to get up to $30 million a year? Maybe 35. And 35 might be a little bit too far for a guy like Michael King, but I think he'd probably be in the range of $28.3 million to $32 million in AAV. Is that enough to get Michael King signed if you're the San Diego Padres? Can you sign Michael King to a deal like that where you're getting $30 million? You have to pay $30 million a year per. Does it get up to 32 over 6 years? Do you give him a 6-year, $192 million contract, or is $200 million what you're going to have to do in order to keep a guy like Michael King? Who finished who had votes as a potential Cy Young candidate a year ago. I think the Padres are more inclined to sign a Michael King over a Dylan Cease in terms of age and some other potential factors. But Dylan Cease is the same age as Michael King. He's also 29. He's got a little bit more experience as a starting pitcher. And with Dylan Cease and his track record, how much does he get? Again, same age as Michael King, but he has more innings logged as a starting pitcher than King does. Maybe that's more susceptible to injuries. I think King's been better than Cease in a Padres uniform. I'd like to see both, obviously, in Padres uniforms, but not for the price that they have to get. Are you going to pay upwards to $200 million plus for a guy like Dylan Cease? I mean, the good news for this Garrett Crochet deal is Dylan Cease and Michael King know they're going to get paid. The bad news for the Padres is obviously some information that we already thought was going to be true, and that is if you're going to keep a player here, one of these guys, you're only going to be able to keep one. You're not probably going to be able to keep two unless you work some AJ Preller magic with the books a little bit. And we'll see. Maybe another full season of sellout crowds will help the payroll out a little bit. You're getting a little bit of relief as the years go on if you're the San Diego Padres, but not a ton. I think, and I agree, I think Cease is probably more inclined to get a deal like Garrett Crochet. I think he gets a little bit less than a guy like Michael King just because Michael King, with the less innings taxed on his arm, is going to be more valuable. You start looking at, the Padres books and everything like that. You're going to see some players get raises. Other players are going to not get a raise. You look at, Yu Darvish is going to go down in money again. This is the most money Yu Darvish is going to make for the Padres for the remainder of his contract. And not having him play right now is obviously tough, but he's making $21 million this year, goes down to 16, and then 15, and then 15. Yu Darvish is a free agent in 2029. And then he's off the books. Robert Suarez could potentially opt out at the end of the year. That could free up a little bit of money. Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to get a raise. Bogart stays the same the whole time. And then the big raise for Manny Machado comes in 2027 when he goes from $25 million to $39 million a year, which is where you get your little bit of your problems when it comes to future contracts. Joe Musgrove's a free agent in 2028, and that will free up an additional $20 million. So you could work some magic around this to try to, mix things up and end load contracts and everything like that. But what Garrett Crochet got, it's going to be a big payday for Michael King and for Dylan Cease. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The future of the Torpedo Bats is going to be short-lived. Some insiders think they will even be banned. We'll talk about whether or not we think they should be banned and who else is using these new Torpedo Bats when we come back. This is the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, 18 on a Tuesday, Victory Tuesday for the Padres, who are now 5-0 on the season, despite not using the brand new Torpedo Bats. Adam just said it, and I totally agree. Why isn't everybody trying to do this? These Torpedo Bats that are out there, they're all the rage. Just ask the kids. Torpedo Bats. Let's take a look at these Torpedo Bats for a second. I don't think, honestly, it's that big of a deal. I don't think they should be banned. I don't think it's cheating. It's well within the rules. They can use them. But right now, the results that you're getting out of some of these Torpedo Bats are insane. Now, that being said, as we have talked about throughout the entire day today about different statistics for certain players, it's early on in the season. Same thing with some of the teams off to lackluster starts and overzealous starts. If I'd ask you right now, if you had to put money on it, who's making the playoffs, the Los Angeles Angels or the Atlanta Braves, everybody's saying the Braves. Angels are 3-1. They're in first place. Atlanta's 0-5. It's early on in the season. Still early, right? So, that being said, when you look at some of these statistics that we're about to break down with the Torpedo Bats, they could be a gigantic coincidence. Again, there's not enough data really to determine if these things are a cheat code, if you will, to Major League Baseball. But again, they're within the rules. MLB cleared them, and so you can't really complain about them. Go get some. Like Milwaukee was complaining about them against the Yankees. You're getting your ass kicked right now by every team in baseball that you've played, Yankees and the Royals. They should be on the phone with Marucci and Victus and all of these bat makers that can make these bats and start getting some to Milwaukee and stop bitching about it. So that being said, as everybody wants to blame the Yankees, they're not the only teams that are using these bats. In fact, Elly De La Cruz picked up one of these bats last night. Now, I don't know if he grabbed the Louisville Slugger or not. I mean, if you're Cincinnati, Louisville Slugger's like just down the road over in Kentucky. Elly De La Cruz did not use the Torpedo Bat in the first 3 games. Elly De La Cruz went 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored, no power numbers. Went 1 for 4 with no extra base hits and an RBI in Game 2 against the Giants. In Game 3 against the Giants was 1 for 4, again a single, not any extra base hits. And then last night, in the same ballpark, Great American Ballpark, where they've been for a homestand to start the season, last night against Texas, who just did some serious damage against the Red Sox. Elly De La Cruz with the Torpedo Bat, 4 for 5 with a double, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. I mean, I get it. I can see where people are like, hey, look, this Torpedo Bat's doing some serious damage right now. We look at the Yankees. They hit a bunch of home runs. And nobody's worried. Nobody's talking about Aaron. Like, Aaron Judge didn't use the bat. That's not the conversation. It's guys like Volpe and Jazz Chisholm, getting their slug up. Elly De La Cruz had 3 singles in his first 3 games. No extra base hits. Elly De La Cruz in Game 4 had 4 hits, was 4 for 5, drove in 7 runs, hit a double and 2 homers in a 14-3 victory over Texas, the one game he used the Torpedo Bat. Are those numbers like out of the ordinary for Elly De La Cruz in general? I mean, Elly De La Cruz is one of the best players in Major League Baseball, one of those phenom athletes. Guy does very impressive things. It's not like he hasn't had days like that in the past. Now, I have to look at his stats, but last year on April 8th against Milwaukee, Elly De La Cruz was 3 for 4 with 4 runs scored, 2 home runs, 2 RBIs, and a stolen base. It's not like he hasn't had those performances before. It's still early on. So I can't really make too many connections to this yet, but I do find it interesting. And the thing that's interesting, and RJ Anderson had this for CBSSports.com today about the Torpedo Bat.
He explains how the bat works. Again, the Torpedo Bat is the brainchild of a pioneering New York Yankees front office staffer turned Miami Marlins coach, Aaron Learnhardt. And as Tony Kornheiser said on PTI yesterday, hopefully he patented this because he's about to make a ton of money. If he didn't, missed opportunity. But his vision was to distribute the bat's mass across areas where some players make contact more frequently, thereby optimizing their offensive output in a way that normal bats did not. To paraphrase former big league infielder Kevin Smith, the intent is to improve a player's chance of barreling the ball and reduce the likelihood of whiffing. The Torpedo Bat was launched into the discourse over the weekend by a confluence of events where the Yankees were partaking in the personal home run derby against the Brewers. Team broadcaster Michael Kay was detailing the modified bats being employed by Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Anthony Volpe, among others. It's a well-known statistical principle that causation does not equal correlation, as I've been talking about, but the dynamic gets confused when there's ambiguity surrounding a topic such as, say, the legality of the bats being used to clobber the opposition's pitching staff all weekend long. From the article by R.J. Anderson. I think if you get to a point where everybody starts using these torpedo bats and the numbers go through the roof, I think you would have to make a stance on it. But until that happens, I still think it's a little bit of a coincidence so far. But here's the question. Here's the question I have to ask about the torpedo bats. Because some of these scouts and insiders in this article by R.J. Anderson are saying, I think they're going to be banned. That's according to one front office source telling CBS Sports. I think MLB will be compelled to establish a rule to prevent them from getting out of hand, and I think the interest of fairness will direct the rule to be something that more or less bans the torpedo design. My question is, what has Major League Baseball been trying to accomplish the last couple of years with their rule changes? More action and more scoring. Isn't that what they want? I mean, the pitchers have been so dominant the last couple of years. Don't they want more offense? I agree. I think the sample size of these torpedo bats is way too limited to make any conclusions from it. We've only played about 4 or 5 games per team so far in the Major League Baseball season. It just so happens that the Yankees tagged a very bad Brewers pitching staff, and Ellie De La Cruz last night had a great game for a guy that has had these games before. The source contention stems from the theory and some preliminary analysis, such as one floated by Dr. Alan Nathan, one of baseball's foremost physics experts, that attempts to model the difference between the torpedo bat and more standard piece of wood. Nathan's theory estimates how batters could sacrifice exit velocity near the barrel for more near the label. Again, all they're trying to do is move the barrel to a point that most players, at least the ones that are using these bats, hit baseballs. They still have the same barrel. It's still the same size, but instead of putting it near the end of the bat, they're putting it more towards the handle or the label of the bat, still creating the same piece of wood. It's just in a different area. So I don't really think it should be banned quite yet. I mean, if the games get out of hand and you're watching like 12-10 ball games, they're taking 4.5 hours, then sure, I think we should probably look at that. But after a couple of games, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. I don't think they need to ban this. Another scout said just what we need, another incentive for pitchers to not throw strikes. I think the only reason why they should ban these bats is for this quote right here. What one source said in the article. He said something else, and he goes, also, they look stupid, so they need to be banned. They look kind of dumb. I think that's your best valid option to ban these bats. They look stupid. But I want to see a Padre guy swing it. Let's start looking at this. Players that don't have the high slug right now on the Padres, I don't think Luis Arias could benefit from this. I mean, the guy, I don't want to mess up his swing. But, like, what if Xander swung this bat? What if some of the other players that are looking for slugs swung this bat? I don't know if they're corked bats without the cork might be. I don't think they're corked bats. I don't think it's the same. all they're doing is moving the barrel. These guys are still barreling up the baseballs, but they're just doing it in a different spot on the bat. I mean, I don't want to compare it to softball, but there's a major difference when I swing. If I don't hit the barrel of the bat, the ball's not jumping off the bat. And I end cap a lot of stuff, as Wood said. He's end capped some things in baseball. Maybe it's a little bit better if you move the barrel to the top of the bat. Ben mentioned his driver. They moved the sweet spot to where you hit the ball. What's the difference? If I consistently hit the ball in a certain spot on the bat, shouldn't that be where I swing and I should get the barrel? What if I choked up on the bat to make it easier on that? They're just moving the barrel instead of the traditional place of like closer to the end of the bat. It's more centered to the label because these guys get jammed a little bit more than others. It's not like it's on the handle. It's just more on the label. They just move the barrel. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But it's interesting some of the numbers that we're getting so far early on. You need a lot more data to determine whether or not it's cheating or not. So I know that will be an endless debate, these torpedo bats. I'm surprised the Padres haven't bought any of those yet or have ordered any of them. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973.
The interesting thing to consider before we go accusing teams of not having ordered them or taken advantage of what seems like a really productive piece of equipment, how long do you think it takes to actually get them and order them in bulk and ship them to wherever you are? Maybe teams all around Major League Baseball are actually ordering these things in bulk. They just haven't received them yet.
I don't know. I went to Louisville Slugger.
It feels like they just came out of nowhere.
But guys were using them last year. It just became popular.
But I mean, like in terms of the mainstream and becoming a big deal, and to the point where teams, you would think that teams would have had a jump and seen this. Like they shouldn't be just deciding to try them out because of what the Yankees did over the weekend, I guess is the point, right? Well, baseball teams should know what's going on within the industry and be all over this.
Right, but sometimes you need somebody to do it before you start doing it. I mean, it's the same thing with like football plays and stuff like that. I mean, it kind of catches on. I went to the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory last year. Somebody asked about like if somebody wants to tweak to their bat that's signed with Louisville, how fast can you get it out? They get them out fast. They said we could tweak it, we could do whatever, we could get them the bat before their next game. So I think they could get them the bats at all these companies. There's multiple bat companies now besides Louisville, but I know that they could get those bats out very quickly if they need them, and they need to order some new ones or they need to ship them somewhere else if there's a variation here and there. So I think they could get them at any as quickly as they need. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Go a little bit down memory lane and give you a preview of the Padres game all in one when we come back. Lamont Butler's shot was a couple years ago today. Is it the greatest sports moment in Padres history? We got a couple other ones. In San Diego history. We got a couple other San Diego sports history items that we might think outdo the Lamont Butler shot. What do you guys think? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll talk about that to finish the show when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
This hour 97 to the Fan is brought to you by Robert Half. At Robert Half, we found that 67% of companies want to increase contract talent. That's why our recruiters, expertise, and award-winning AI work quickly to find the skilled candidates you want. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. Also, baseball coverage on 97 to the Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. We got tons of baseball coverage. In fact, we have been doing mostly baseball coverage this morning and afternoon on the Braden Surprenant shows. We lead you up to Gwynn and Chris coming up at 2 o'clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, and Matt Scraby. They will take you to around 5:40 where the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show will get underway with Sam Levitt before Padres baseball. Tony Gwynn Jr. and Jesse Agler on that particular call. Got to listen for the incorporator today. He was on with Bennett Woods. If you didn't get the word he was using, go back and listen. You can go back and listen on the Odyssey app on a rewind function. You can also check out all of our shows in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're all on YouTube. Thanks again for everybody on YouTube being part of the chat today. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button on the YouTube. It really helps us out with the algorithm. Go ahead, hit the like. It goes a long way for us. We really appreciate that. Also, be sure to follow me on social media at @B_SURP, at @BSURP. This next segment, I think, is going to be pretty fun. Very generic sports talk radio segment, but the fact that it happened in my group text today, one of my friends' group texts, no, not the sports thread, but today is the anniversary of the big shot heard round San Diego with Lamont Butler hitting the shot to go to the national championship. Here's what the shot was.
Who would take the shot at the other end? Now it's Greenlee to inbound. 11 to shoot. It's to Martin. Laying it out. It's been the star tonight. Giving it back to Davis. With 5 to shoot. Taken on. And it's blocked. Pulled down by Mensah. They have the one timeout. Are they going to take it or not? They don't have the scorers on the floor. It's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up. And he wins it. He wins it with the jumper. A San Diego State miracle.
CBS with the coverage on that particular call. The Mont Butler shot was a couple of years ago today. And so my friend that said, celebrate, he put in the text, good morning to all that celebrate the greatest sports moment in San Diego history today, which sparked a pretty contested debate of what is the top sports moments in San Diego history. Lamont Butler's shot is definitely top 5. I don't necessarily know if that is the number one all play. No, Adam, my friend is not young. My friend is an Aztec fan. That is why he is all about the Lamont Butler shot. Let's talk about some other potential plays that could be considered. I think one for me that has always been top-notch, and I think at some point, at this moment, San Diego was on the top of the sports world, and that is in 1998, in Game 1 of the World Series, Tony Gwynn at the dish with Kilvio Veras at first, and a home run to right that really put the Padres on the top of the sports world and San Diego on top of the sports world. Here's Joe Buck.
Ripped down the right field line at the track at the wall. Gone! Off the facing at the bottom of the upper deck, and Tony Gwynn goes deep with his first postseason home run to put San Diego out in front 4-2.
Courtesy of Fox. Tony Gwynn hitting a home run to get an early lead at Yankee Stadium in 1998. I've heard the stories from Tony Jr. about him as a kid talking mad S to Yankees fans in the stands, which they obviously got the better of the deal. But I think for one moment in time, that was where, San Diego was really at the top of the sports world. Not too many moments in time have we been as a sports city. We have had the support. We have had the loyal listeners of our teams, the loyal watchers, the loyal supporters of all of our teams. We've had teams get ripped away from us. We've had a lot of things not go our way, but we've had a lot of great things too.
that have happened in San Diego, and we're trying to find those top 5 moments in time. We've also had a couple of great owners as well, as we will play a couple of more things here for you. I think another one that needs to be considered was back in 2022 in more recent history in the NLDS, in the what ultimately was the series clinching moment for Jake Cronenworth at Petco Park.
2-2. Here's the pitch. Cronenworth swings, lines it into center field. That's a base hit. Kim will score. Here comes Soto. The throw from Thompson kicks off the mound and down to second. Cronenworth, a 2-run single, and the Padres in front for the first time tonight. It's 5-3.
Jake Cronenworth with his big knock in the National League Divisional Series to finally slay the Dragon up in Los Angeles. Led the Padres to an NLCS for the first time since 1998. Obviously a great moment in time. I would probably consider that probably a recent top 5. But of course, it produced this great clip that we play on the station all the time. Was it extra sweet?
I'm here with the owner of the Padres, Peter Seidler. Peter, how does it feel to advance to the NLCS?
It feels great. The players, the fans, they both showed up in the biggest possible ways all season long, but especially these last 2 nights. And the come from behind clinching game today, it could not have been better. Congratulations to our players.
Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers? Is it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers?
A little bit. They're the team that has dominated the last decade. And like we said, you know who that Dragon is up the freeway. We got to slay it, and we did it this year. And we will be a very good team for years to come.
That's funny every time we play it. Was it extra sweet because it was against the Dodgers? That's definitely part of the conversation. What about Mr. Padre himself? A little personal accolade that happened in Montreal.
Smith is ready. Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hit, and there it is! Ho-ho, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000.
Jerry Coleman, the late, great Jerry Coleman, I used to remember listening to with Ted Leitner back in the day as a kid growing up, driving around San Diego with great memories of listening to Padres baseball in the summertime. But obviously, the 3,000th hit for Tony Gwynn could potentially be part of that, especially with the late, great Jerry Coleman on the call on the Padres radio network. Another great moment in San Diego sports history. Again, what sparked this was the Lamont Butler chart was today. So another one that could be in the consideration. A lot of people had this one as well. Before my time, right before my time, but could have been a very big moment in San Diego Chargers history that led to a great event at Qualcomm after the fact. San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship against the Pittsburgh Steelers with an opportunity to go to their first ever Super Bowl.
4th and goal. Neil O'Donnell on a 4th down play to save the season to throw. Fire in the zone! It was lights out at the goal line by San Diego. San Diego's going to win this game. San Diego's going to do the job. They stop it on 4th down. Dennis Gibson cutting in a deep drop, got a hand on the football, and the Chargers have kept the Steelers out of the end zone on a 4th down play.
Dennis Gibson sends the Chargers to the Super Bowl. Hacksaw on the call right there with CBS credit for that one. But a great play for the Chargers, obviously, going to the first ever Super Bowl. I wish I was alive to see that. I've heard the stories multiple times from a lot of you callers out there and a lot of people that went and attended that particular welcoming back from Pittsburgh, welcoming the team back at Qualcomm Stadium, and what the environment was like at Qualcomm that day at Jack Murphy Stadium after they came home from Pittsburgh. Pretty amazing moment. pretty cool thing for San Diego. Obviously, the list is not super long. We're looking for like the top 5. I threw a bunch of ideas out there. I think a lot of people were talking about the LT touchdown record. I remember listening to that particular play on the radio where Josh Lewin said, Chargers fans, you're witnesses to history. I remember driving around hearing that. I didn't get to see it on TV. I was doing stuff, but I remember that. There's other ones in there that, the win in Indianapolis for the Chargers in the playoffs when they didn't have Phillip Rivers and Billy Volek, had to roar them to victory with Michael Turner. LT was banged up. Antonio Gates was banged up. Phillip Rivers was banged up. And they got a W in Indianapolis to advance the AFC Championship game. I think that's a more recent kind of Chargers one. The walk-off with Darren Sproles in a very fun game against Indianapolis again in the postseason. I think it'd be on there. But those are, I think, would be a little bit more of a sense of an honorable mention. Again, what sparked all of this was obviously Lamont Butler's anniversary shot. What is the best moment in San Diego sports history? I think a lot of people have their options there in the chat. If you want to give us a call, 833 to finish the show, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. 1963, Chargers did win an AFL championship over at what's now Balboa Stadium, where the San Diego Cavers play. The old lone championship that the city of San Diego has. The AFL champions of 1963 as they destroyed the Boston Patriots that year. But if you want to weigh in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Mike at RB. Mike, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. For me, it's more personal. I'm an old guy. I was a freshman at Indiana University, and I'm surrounded by Cub fans. Used to wear my Padre gear, and they would talk mad smack to me. So when Steve Garvey went deep in the NLDS at the last moment to extend the series, hands down, we ended up winning the series, and no one said a damn word to me when I wore my Padres gear around campus.
I love that, Mike. I love that. Appreciate the phone call. I think a lot of other people too had the Cup Buster, Steve Garvey, home run to get the Padres to the World Series in '84. Obviously, a lot of comparisons between the '84 team and the current Padres team with the start, but really, really good moment in that one as well. Let's get out to Richard in San Diego, our resident Chargers fan. Richard, what's going on, man?
You already know who it was, man. What's going on?
Long time no talk, man. What's going on?
Hey, man, congratulations on the show, bro. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. I love you representing us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What moment do you got for me?
First of all, I know you already know it's going to be a Charger moment. So.
Of course.
Come on, man. Dennis Gibson, man, at like the 4-yard line, just completely ruining the Pittsburgh Steelers' just hopes and dreams of going to the Super Bowl. They already had the Steelers in the Super Bowl. It was 49ers Steelers Super Bowl. And Gibson was like, nah, hold up. Nope. And I remember as a kid thinking it was Junior Seau for like 2 years. It was actually Gibson. So, yeah, man, that's my number one right there.
Absolutely, Richard. I wish I was alive to see that. I just missed it barely, but there's a lot of great Charger moments from being a San Diego Chargers fan. I'm sure I can mention a lot of those. We'll reminisce, even though you still root for that team. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But I appreciate you calling in, man. I appreciate you listening as always. Look forward to hearing from you again, Richard. That's Richard in San Diego, one of our resident Charger fans, diehard San Diego guy. Nobody's brought it up, but we have had a couple of no-hitters in Padres history now, too. Dylan Cease last year. I don't know if that will be the top ever, but I think it's honorable mention. Dylan Cease getting a no-no.
Here's the 1-0. Abrams swings, lines it into right field. Johnson coming on. He's got it, and the ball game is over. Dylan Cease has no hit the Washington Nationals. On a rainy Thursday in D.C., the Padres will celebrate. They have mobbed Cease on the infield, and the Pods sweep the Nats with a 3-0 victory.
Obviously very impressive. The second no-hitter in San Diego Padres history. But what about the kid from Grossmont High School pitching for his hometown club to get the first ever no-hitter in San Diego Padres history. Nobody's brought that one up yet. Joe Musgrove in Texas in front of a limited fan base because it's the 2021 season after COVID, goes out and throws the first no-hitter in San Diego Padres history. An incredible moment for a local kid to come represent the city of San Diego. And it might not be the greatest moment, sports moment in San Diego history, but it should definitely be in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5. So, a couple of cycles that the Padres have had. So there's been a lot of other moments I think to be considered. But with today being the anniversary of the Lamont Butler shot, here's the Joe Musgrove final.
No balls in one strike. The big right-hander ready and delivers. Swing and a ground ball to shortstop. Kim has it. Friendly hop. Throw to first. That is a no-hitter, and that is history. Joe Musgrove with the first no-hitter in Padre history. April 9th, 2021 at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. The kid comes home, and he gets it done.
Top moments, sports moments in San Diego history to close out the show to the Lamont Butler anniversary shot. Gwen and Chris are coming up next. That's it for me, the Braden Surprenant Show. We'll talk to you tomorrow on 97.3 The Fan.